Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Happy New Year!
Opening day, baby.
The season begins
Yes.
tonight. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Jason Lloyd's in the hot seat. Don't forget to buy our T-shirts. McNuggets told me whatever you do, right off the top, plug the T-shirts.
They're going
There you
fast,
go.
folks.
I got to get one. I don't have one yet.
You're going to get one. You'll get
You
two,
got to get
actually.
one of each. Everybody buy one of each. They're awesome. Obviously, Cleveland Clothing Company is a great company. We're happy to be partnering with them.
They make great the quality of their T-shirts.
best.
It's great.
I bought like a dozen of them
many
the
we
first
got?
year I was here. Not these yet.
Okay.
Yeah, this
But I'm
is the
saying when I
Cleveland
first
Clothing
moved to
Company
Cleveland,
T-shirts.
I bought more than a dozen. I probably bought 20 T-shirts from there. I still have them all. My wife takes some of the ones that don't fit me anymore and wears them as like a sleep shirt.
Nice.
It's awesome.
They're great
best
shirts. They're
quality
very
stuff. Yes.
comfortable. I own a ton. I don't even know how many I have, but
Yeah.
I encourage you to get them now because G. Bush hasn't placed his order yet. He's placing an order of 200 for his family and friends.
family reunions coming up.
Yeah.
Easter's coming up. They've all told me that they
You're
want
giving them
both
out like
shirts.
business cards.
Christmas.
You get a shirt. You get a shirt.
get a shirt.
I ain't getting nothing else though.
G. Bush, the Oprah of sports talk.
She gives away houses. He gives away shirts.
Yeah, right.
Busy show today. As I mentioned, Happy New Year because the season finally is here. It kicks off tonight. We can't wait for that. Aditi's going to be here. She, of course, will be working the sidelines for CBS in the Browns' opening game of the season against Carolina. Perfect pairing there with Aditi on the sideline for the Browns. Jim Szoke is the play-by-play guy, the radio play-by-play guy for the Carolina Panthers. He has been on the Panthers broadcast team since they began operation as a football team. I graduated with Jim from Bowling Green. He's a great guy, terrific voice. He's going to join us to give us the ins and outs of Carolina, how he thinks they're going to attack this Browns team. And also, and I'm excited about this because the first time we did it was last week, and it was a blast. It's a great segment. No fence riding. No waffling. It's either
That's right.
yes or no.
Yeah.
It's definitive, this answer or that answer. And I'm looking forward to it primarily, not just to see where you guys are on all these topics, but to see the graphics. I thought
The
last
graphics
week
were great.
Anthony nailed the graphics for no fence riding.
And I got my picks in kind of early. It was before.
When did you get them in?
It was probably McNuggets. I think it was before. It was like 5 or 6, right?
It was the earliest G. Bush has answered any text in his life.
On it.
I only had to ask him twice.
Yeah, see.
By the way, speaking of which, like yesterday after the show, we had a conversation about getting our picks in quick.
Yeah.
And then, of course, G sent his picks in late again today.
That wasn't the picks. That was
Good bet, bad bet.
Good bet,
Oh,
bad
good bet, bad bet. Yeah, that's true.
you jumped.
The last second
We
jump
can
in.
always count on like about a 6:45 text from McNuggets.
Yes.
What the bets are. And then about a 9 o'clock text from McNuggets saying, gee, I need your picks.
Exactly.
Right.
It happens almost every day. We love you for it, though.
Yes.
We love you for it.
Yes.
All right, let's dive in.
Yeah.
Let's dive in because I think this first topic, I know you didn't leave a lot of time for it, McNuggets, but I think it's going to be good because if you guys are all going where I think you're going, I'm going to have to tell you why you're wrong.
Okay.
Yesterday, Kevin Stefanski announced the captains.
Okay.
And it's the first time he's done so as a head coach. He didn't do
Season
it his
captains.
first year.
Season captains.
Well,
Season
captains.
captains.
Yeah, normally they were game by game.
Right.
This year, voted by the players, and they are for the entire season, and here they are. And I don't think anybody can pick fault with any of these. These are the 5 that I don't know that I would add Hewlett in there, but just
Well, they probably wanted a special teams guy.
yeah, and
Usually
for
it's
the
2
lifetimes
offense,
of
2
Chief-
defense, and a special
and
teams.
he is the most notable special teams player we have, right? I mean,
Yes.
Cade York is a draft pick, but like when you look around the special teams team photo, it's a lot of new faces.
Sure.
So there they are. I don't think anybody has an issue with that. I think the question here is this. Is this a coincidence that for the first time in Stefanski's career, now that Baker's gone, that he's going with seasoned captains? Never did it in the Baker era.
As much as I have fun in taking shots at Baker, and there's Ben Axelrod who works with WKYC. Interesting, the first season the Browns chose to do it. I do think it's a coincidence. I don't believe this is any kind of indication that he didn't want to do this with Baker. I think it's smart. I never understood why you would pick. I thought it was very Mickey Mouse picking different captains every week. That seems silly
a lot
to
of
me.
coaches do that.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I think it's
You're
good.
spreading the love. for one.
It's a little high schoolish.
Exactly. I think it's important to pick captains. Now, I think you can adjust. Like, there's not much of a difference between the Browns and my Little League team, so I'll give you that as an example. I picked 2 captains for my Little League team at the beginning of the season, and then halfway through the season, there were 2 other kids that really stood out in their leadership, and I added them as additional captains to the team.
Now, what were the captain duties at the Little League games?
Oh, very serious stuff. This is secretive.
Make
I can't
sure the
share
ice
you
bucket's filled.
No, not even. It was really almost nothing.
Right.
But it was a way.
It was figurehead.
It was a way of recognizing them being good teammates and good leaders on the team.
So you've got no conspiracy here. You just think that Stefanski said let's do it for a season.
I just think he's in his 3rd year in the league. I think if you're a smart coach, if you're a smart player, you're always thinking about things you could do better or things. And maybe the players said to him, "Hey, coach, this whole switching captains every week is stupid. Let's recognize some of the guys." And I think, I don't really know about Hewlett, but the other 4 guys are clearly smart players, good leaders, guys you would obviously pick from the outside.
Denzel Ward might be on there, maybe.
Yeah.
But Walker's a great pick.
Everybody loves Anthony Walker. They loved him in Indy.
Leader.
They love him here.
And guys will take a hill with him. Jason?
I think captain is overrated. Like, I don't think these are.
It probably is.
These are grown men. Like, it's Little League okay. Although I've never heard of that before.
No,
I hadn't either.
I got to start a trend here.
But high school, I get it. Even college, I get it. These are grown men, professional adults earning millions of dollars.
But someone's got to go out for the coin toss.
Okay, fine. But I do think, Bull, I think you touched on, I think it's a coincidence, too, with Baker. I don't think it has anything to do with Baker not being here. I think it has more to do with Kevin's in his 3rd year now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now there's a familiarity with the program. There's a familiarity with the players that he has that he did not have year 1. Do you really want to trust the player vote? Do you really want to pick guys yourself who you don't really know?
Right.
So I think it's really just, dare I say it, the progression of a high-functioning franchise that has its head coach in place for 3 years in a row. I'm not ready to call the Browns high-functioning yet.
Yeah.
But this is a clue of a high-functioning franchise who now has a head coach who understands the personality he has.
We'll take any breadcrumbs we can get.
I know. It's pitiful. But ultimately, I just think the whole topic is a bit overrated when it comes to captains in the NFL.
G. Bush, how about you? You think it's a coincidence?
In my Skip Bayless voice. Once again, Adam. Once again, Jason, you've left too much to me on the bone. I thought you were going to pick it, but you didn't, so I'll square everybody away. This happened specifically and strategically.
Yeah.
If you look at it, what has nothing to do with Baker, but it does have to do with a quarterback. You see, when you look at Deshaun Watson, right, everyone knows he's the best player on your team. Everybody knows that he's going to be gone 11 weeks. Everybody knows what kind of publicity is out there. These captainships were specifically picked for people as a deflection, right? So every time you want to say something bad, you then have to go speak to a captain or talk to a captain. And those people who he picked have shining resumes. Myles Garrett is loved, and he's probably one of the best players in the league. There's no better teammate than Nick Chubb. Anthony Walker, people talk about him as a man of the year candidate all around the league. Yeah. So when you mention Cleveland Browns, for so many months, it was Deshaun Watson. Why would you do it? Allegations. Now, as a captain, when you mention Cleveland Browns, guess what? You mention and you think, oh, Nick Chubb, because every time you see him run the ball, you see that C. Every time Myles Garrett gets a sack, you see that C.
Yep.
And what it does, it's imagery. Imagery is very powerful. It's subliminal. So now, after 11 games and they come back, you can't just start going in on Deshaun Watson, because if the Browns are playing good, you're going to say, look at our 4 captains and how they played, held the team together. And now he's just one of 53 out there coming to do his job. It was so specific.
You came close. You came really close. You were going down the path. But in my view, he did it to avoid having to make a difficult decision in weeks 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. The last 6 games.
You should have used your
Stephen A.
voice.
I thought about it. When you went Skip Bayless, I thought about it.
See, I was setting you up.
I was getting a little nervous because in 10 years I never agreed with Skip, but as you started, I'm like, okay.
Never?
He's
Not
close.
once in 10 years?
Occasionally I did, but rarely. I think this was done, and I don't want to make this grand conspiracy theory of it. I think when he was thinking about what are we going to do this year, are we going to do it as we did last year? And if so, how might that play out? Once Deshaun Watson comes back on the field, if he names Deshaun Watson a captain, it's a story.
Yep.
If he doesn't name Deshaun Watson a captain, it's a story. You don't need distractions the last 6 games of the season. So he circumvented all of that and said, I'm picking captains for the season, and now he's off the hook. He doesn't have to name a captain that would automatically be a story. Because in Week 12, when he comes back against the Texans, if he's a captain, we're talking about it. Oh, yeah. Is this the right look?
Yeah.
If he's not a captain, we're talking about it. What, don't they trust him? He's finally back? None of that will happen this year.
That, maybe they would, and maybe it's something in between where they were thinking about doing it anyway, and somebody said, if we do it for the season, we don't have to deal with this later in the year.
And so I've been critical of Stefanski over the last season with some of his play calling decisions, his decision to keep Baker out there week after week after week. But when he does something good and gets something right, I want to give him credit. And I think that this is a very smart decision for Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
He has taken a major storyline that could become a distraction, and he's eliminated it from the equation. And there's going to be storylines this year.
Yep.
Both before Watson gets on the field and after. Any that you can eliminate in advance, I think it's a strategic move. I think it's a wise move. Now, McNuggets, you think, I can tell by your tone on our meeting this morning.
Yeah, he feels it's something different.
You think, now Baker's gone, let's name a captain for the season. So go ahead, we'll give you the floor.
I just think I don't believe in coincidences. I think when these things happen, there's usually some thought process behind it. And I think all you guys made good points. I think, A, it is smart to avoid waiting for Watson to have to make that decision. I think Jason and Bull are right, that maybe it's just a maturing coach. But I also think he's not a new coach in the NFL. He's been in the NFL for over a decade. This is not the first time he's seen other teams name season captains, and for him to wait until his third year when the guy that him may not have seen eye to eye with is now gone, especially at the most prominent position.
Yeah, but think back before last season. What would be the rub between Stefanski and Baker?
Then why not name season captains last year and make Baker?
Because he didn't do it in his first year either.
But Mikey, things went south between Baker and Stefanski. And that's neither of them have acknowledged that publicly.
Jason has.
Well, Jason.
No.
But I'm saying
there were friction points for sure.
Right, but I'm saying Baker and Stefanski haven't said publicly they have a problem with the other one.
No.
Even though we know from Jason's reporting that that's the case.
There was friction.
It's
for sure.
obvious, but I don't think that happened until this last season.
Right. So, you would think that Stefanski would have been breaking his back to make Baker a captain.
Right, going into last season, I don't think they had a beef.
In 2020.
Right.
They made the playoffs.
So I don't buy that
theory.
They
almost beat Kansas City. They had a great year, and Baker's stock was here. So I don't know why he wouldn't have just said, he's our guy. He's our captain.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He could have, or he had the decision or the option to name season-long captains before last season. And maybe he felt, even with Baker's stock and his play was high, he wasn't fully bought in on his leadership abilities. And being one of those guys, as G. Bush alluded to, who the younger guys go to with issues.
I think it was fair to question Baker's leadership abilities even going into last year. However, I don't buy in the end that was the reason they didn't do it, because I don't think Stefanski and Baker had any problems going into last year.
I think what we saw was a two-year trend. I don't know that makes a trend. I mean, but for the first two seasons, Stefanski decided to do it one way. I think we should be looking more at the fact that for his third season, he decided to change it, and the obvious question is why. And for me, the obvious answer is he doesn't want the Watson storyline distraction at the end of the season.
And go ahead.
It's a great point you make, Jay, because I do think that the Browns are trying to run away from as many headlines about this as they can. And when he comes back, it's going to be enough of a zoo and a circus without adding things that aren't necessary to the conversation like this. And the last thing I'll say, I wholeheartedly believe Kevin thinks Baker's a good quarterback in the NFL.
Yep. He's reiterated a number of times that he was prepared to move forward with Baker as the quarterback.
Yeah,
right. But you said Deshaun's better.
Deshaun's better.
Well, I don't think there's any argument about that.
Yeah. Right.
But your point shouldn't be left on the cutting room floor because, and I don't know if history will finally write the tale as to what happened, because sometimes these stories get out and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Someone may write a book 15 years from now where they really focus in on the transition from Baker to Watson. And what we may well learn, just a guess, we may well learn there was one voice in the room that wanted to bring this guy to town no matter what. And I'll let you guys figure out who that might have been.
It won't be me. I wrote one book and it damn near killed me. So I'm out of the book writing business.
And
I would like it to be you, actually.
And you take it you could take this with a grain of salt, but I really think that he didn't value captains before. He thought, our coaches have emphasis on stuff. They get in 2-3 years and they're like, that really didn't matter that much. I think he values it now because look at the people who are now wearing that seed. Now, if you want to make the playoffs, each one of these people want to play, right? Like, if you need a play, Nick Chubb has to give it. If you need a third down stop, Myles Garrett has to get that play. Yeah. So when they look down and say, oh, goodness, this gets rough, sometimes that little seed just reminds you, okay, this is where I need to be at and what level I got to play at.
I think it's clearly 4 players that the other players look up to. They're players that talk to the media most often, have the best. Those guys all have good relationships with the media. Yep. It's not like, like Baker had kind of a shaky relationship with some of the media members.
Right.
Those guys got all relationships. They talk all the time, and they're good representatives of the franchise.
Yeah, but to that point, what's funny to me is if you just look, what does a captain do? He leads, right?
Yeah.
He leads. Now, there's a lot of ways to lead. You can lead silently. Traditionally in the NFL, your best leaders, when you start thinking about the greatest leaders of all time, they're not silent. They're very vocal. If you think of Ray Lewis, you think they're fiery guys, Drew Brees. What's funny to me is, in their 2 captains, yes, they have the best 2 players in Chubb and Garrett. Garrett is growing more into that role, and I think he's more comfortable in that skin now. But Chubb, as much as I love everything about everything he does, both on the field and off the field, no one's ever going to mistake this guy for a guy that the team's going to follow to take a hill.
Well,
he's just not that personality, and I'm not knocking him for that.
But I don't know. I mean, in the locker room, like, he's not a rah-rah guy publicly. He doesn't do anything crazy. He doesn't say anything crazy. But those guys in that running back room, they really look up to Nick Chubb.
I think everybody
The whole
does.
group looks up to him. The whole team looks up to him and admires him, Jason, I would say. Yeah. Right? So, like.
But if you list the characteristics you want your leader to have,
I hear you,
he's
but
got them all except for.
I think eventually the quarterback has to be the leader, by the way. Like, eventually Watson's got to be the captain and the leader.
I agree with that.
But I do think, like, I think about back, and we got our guest?
Mikey's saying, like, urgently in there.
We have Jim, and I just wanted to.
Okay.
He's going to wrap up this
last
point.
15 seconds is I just think back to when, like, Eli Manning became the quarterback of the Giants, and Tiki Barber was the leader of that team, and he was not that much of a rah-rah guy. Like, I never thought of him at the time. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I never thought of him as a rah-rah guy. But they needed Eli Manning to become the leader, but Tiki was able to hold that mantle for a couple of years till Eli was ready, and it's a little different because Watson's not a rookie, but he'll hold the mantle down for now.
All right, do you need a read before we bring in Szoke, or can we just bring him in?
No, I was just going to say, if anyone, the Panthers haven't named their captains yet, so we'll see if Baker ends up being one of them, and if anyone knows, it's our next guest,
Jim Szoke, for sure. Jim is the radio voice of the Carolina Panthers. He's been on their broadcast team since they became a franchise. Jim, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us. That's a great place to start. We're talking about the Browns captains for the first time in Stefanski's era. There is going to be season-long captains. What are the Panthers going to do, and is Baker likely to be one of the captains named?
I think he could be. They have not announced them. They picked them, apparently, but they've not announced out loud who they're going to be as far as who's going to be the captains for this team. So can't tell you yet, but probably today, if not tomorrow. But I was at the practice and the press conferences yesterday. That question was asked, and they've not yet announced it.
Jim, let's get into what happened last week. Obviously, there were 2 things involving Baker. He done, I give him credit for most of the offseason. He has not really talked much. He has not said anything that really has embarrassed himself or the team, which he's done in the past. But then last week, you had the incident where, Cynthia Freeland said he said this. He denied it. I mean, I think he probably said it because there's no reason she would make that up. But he denied it for whatever reason. And then the next day, after saying, well, the media wants me to say these things, he endorses a T-shirt about getting off the leash and stuff. What did you think about that? What did the team think about what happened last week? Or do they not care?
I think, first of all, I think the whole thing with the reporter was overblown. It sounded like something she said, and he just kind of agreed with it. I don't think he came out the next day and said, I never said that. So those words were not his words. It sounded more like something she said. They do know each other from past years of reporting and so forth. So I don't think it was a big deal, I thought, in that case. And the T-shirts, again, is something he said. He was asked about that yesterday at the press conferences. He said, obviously, it's something that he's got a team that works on that. And he liked the T-shirts, but he said, I don't write them. I don't create them. He's got a team that does that for him. And, of course, with his approval. But I think, it's just Baker's. We're starting to see now, the first time in Charlotte, a little Baker personality, because you said it before. He's been very close to the vest with every comment, very businesslike. But I think we're starting to get little glimpses of a little bit of Baker personality finally.
Do the Panthers have any problem with that at all? Because, the other, like the top quarterbacks are not putting out T-shirts like that. I know he said he didn't write it, but he could have stopped it if he wanted to.
I don't think it's a big deal at all. When Ron Rivera was the head coach here, he was known for coming to every Wednesday press conference with a new T-shirt that was made about some members of the team or something about the team itself. So I don't think it was anything that was so derogatory. It's just, I think it's fun. And let's be honest about it. Baker said at one point, "I'm not a robot. This game does mean something to him." So it's there. I think we all know it. He's a human being, and obviously he wants to have a good game. But I think he's also been very businesslike. I think his comments have been, again, very guarded and not trying to give any bulletin board material. But I'm sure on the inside, obviously, he wants to play the game of his life as he did in college, going up against his former college teams and things like that.
Jim, I think I get the feeling from the outside looking in that not only does Baker feel that way, but I think his teammates as well as the fans seem to embrace that. It's a fresh, I understand how it was here. It was kind of fresh when he's, first started and he was outspoken and he showed some fire. What is your feeling about people really embracing him, and do you get that same feeling?
Yeah, I think it makes it fun. I mean, they want to be a team that wins, but you want to have some personality and be an entertaining team to watch. And, Sam Darnold didn't really play well the games he was healthy last year. That's why Baker won the competition. But also, Sam doesn't have a big personality, whereas Baker brings a little juice to the game. And let's be honest, across the landscape of opening games, Cleveland, Carolina is not going to grab the nation's attention unless there's something like this going on, which is Baker Mayfield. I actually don't think that's where the game's going to be won or lost. I think it's going to be won and lost by the Browns' running attack, the return of Christian McCaffrey. So I think on the field it's probably going to be important, but it's not going to be the most important thing that happens. I think on a rainy day, these offensive lines and these rushing attacks will probably be the dominant game storyline.
Jim, you've seen every snap that Christian McCaffrey's been on the field for, and the storyline with him is it's too infrequent. When he's on the field, he's an MVP caliber talent, and I don't think anybody would dispute that. I think the issue clearly has been that he hasn't been on the field regularly enough. How does he look right now compared to the Christian McCaffrey that you've seen before? And do you feel he's going to change anything about his old game to make sure that moving forward he is on the field more?
Yeah, his first couple of years, he was always on the field. In the last 2 years, he's been limited to 10 games over 2 years. So he went from being an Iron Man to a guy that has had trouble staying healthy. The good news is none of it's surgery. As he enters this season, as he enters this game, he is completely healthy. So feel safe in your fantasy league drafts to go ahead and take Christian McCaffrey. He's got nothing he's bringing into that. But he really has tried to take care of himself. He's a workout warrior, but he did things like spending time talking a lot with Marshall Faulk, who was a running back that played a long time in this league and played really well at a late age, about how to take care of his body and so forth. So I think it's things like being in the training room all the time, not waiting for an injury to happen. Be in there ahead of time, getting stretched out, getting treatment all the time, and not just being that young gun that's not going to say anything until you're injured. So I think he has that, veteran experience now of how to take care of himself. And he's not on a pitch count, I'll say that. I mean, if they're going to win games, he is by far, if you line up the 53 players, the most important player to this team's success. So Christian McCaffrey is not going to just carry 10 times and catch 5 passes. He might touch it 30 times in this game because that's how they win.
Jim, kind of along those lines, how much do you think the Panthers studied what the Browns have done the last couple of years with Baker, and are there going to be any similarities to how they run the offense? Kevin Stefanski obviously ran a lot of 13 personnel last year, a lot of 3 tight end looks, very conservative. He had a lot of success with Baker early on in his career by putting him in, giving him simple reads and letting him get into a rhythm and getting into a flow before kind of opening things up. And then last year, teams really sort of took away the edges from him, took the play actions away and the boots away. Has Carolina spent a lot of time trying to reincorporate that into Baker's game, and just how similar do you think the offense could look?
I think for them, this is a new offensive coordinator with Ben McAdoo, head coach in this league, so it's going to be Baker's offense, and it's a complicated scheme. I'll say this, and this is the most complicated offense he's had to learn. And he's only had like 6 weeks to learn it, so it probably hasn't fully evolved, obviously. You can't possibly do that in this short amount of time. But a couple of things about Ben McAdoo is very heavy into the run game, so McCaffrey will be a part of that. You got Deontay Foreman, who backed up Derrick Henry and filled in last year as a bigger back Chuba Hubbard, who's a fast guy. So they'll run the ball. And I think they want to take their shots down the field. Robbie Anderson has the speed to take the top off of a defense. And then they've got DJ Moore, who's one of the great catch and run guys in this league as far as the yak yards after the catch, as a big physical wide receiver target. So I don't think it's going to be a dink and dunk. But when you got McCaffrey out there, he's a great outlet at any time to take a small play and make it a big play. But I think they're going to want to run the ball, and I think they're going to try to sucker you in and take some deep shots as the season wears on, especially with Baker's arm strength. Because, say what you will, Baker isn't always the most accurate guy, but he does have, I think, kind of a stronger arm than people give him credit for. I think they look at his stature and not realize you guys see him play, but he still has that arm strength when he's healthy to throw some good shots down the field.
He's got a great arm.
His arm strength is fine. I agree with that. Jim, obviously it's great matchups. You mentioned the wide receivers against the Browns starting corners who were excellent, but I want to talk about an important matchup if the Panthers do try to go downfield, and that's your rookie left tackle going up against Myles Garrett. I don't care if this kid's going to be the next great tackle. It's his first game. There's going to be moments where he gets, and you're playing against, one of, if not the best pass rusher in the league. How concerned are the Panthers, and how much help do you expect them to give to the rookie against Myles Garrett?
Yeah, I think Coach Matt Rule's been asked about that every day, and the answer is they'll help him some, but they can't help him all day long. So he's going to have to win, 75 snaps. He's going to have to win a lot of those one-on-one matchups. And Jordan Gross played here for a long time. He's probably the best. He is the best left tackle in Panthers history. He has this phrase, and he's one of our broadcast partners. It's called lose slowly. So it's not necessarily he has to win the matchup, but lose slowly. Delay Myles Garrett. Can you at least get a quarterback hit, not a quarterback sack and a forced fumble? So it's going to be some times where you got to help him out. And again, you can scheme and game plan. You can roll the pocket to the other side. Of course, Jadeveon Clowney's waiting over there, but Baker is really good, as you guys know about. When you roll him out of the pocket, a lot of times that's where he has his most success. It helps him not have balls batted in the pocket and things like that. So again, the run game will help that out. Some play action. There's screen passes. There are things you can do. Quick slants. Ball's got to come out quick. And that's the best way to beat a pass rush. If you got a ferocious pass rush, get the ball out quickly on some of those pass patterns that are quicker developing, quick hitters.
Jim, because you've been there every year, you're the perfect person to ask this question to. How is the fan base on their excitement meter compared to past years for Panthers football?
It's up for a couple reasons. As you guys know, with anything, COVID 2 years ago and then kind of working crowds back into it. The team has only won 5 games each of the last 3 years, which is 1 year carryover to Ron Rivera's last season here. So they're excited about just being better. And if you kind of go position by position group with this team, and then even looking at the coaching staff with some of the things I mentioned there, I mean, they've really upgraded at quarterback, a healthy Christian McCaffrey over an unhealthy Christian McCaffrey. The offensive line has been improved. Secondary, I think you'll see, is one of the better personnel secondaries in the league with the addition of Xavier Woods at safety from Minnesota coming in. Brian Burns is an all-pro defensive end. So they've added at every position group on this team and to the coaching staff. So they surely can't win 5 games again. They got to be better than that. So I think for that reason alone, the Panther fan base is excited about improvement and hopefully being a playoff contender. There's a sneaky pick for some folks out there in the media as a playoff team and not necessarily beat Tampa Bay and win the division, but get in as a wild card and have a chance to have a winning record.
Do you think we'll see I'm guessing we'll see quite a bit of 8 men in the box with the Panthers trying to force Jacoby Brissett to beat them? I would assume that's the game plan. What do you think?
I would think there's got to be a lot of that. Keeping a look at J.C. Horn. He's our second-year cornerback. He also got hurt in Week 3 last year out of South Carolina, first-round pick. He's a big press corner that can play in the box. He can play as a slot corner there, but that helps them in that game that they don't have to go linebackers. They can go 2 linebackers and bring in safety Jeremy Chin, who's a big tackler in the box. So we got Jeremy Chin's a 100-tackle guy last year. Xavier Woods for the Vikings was a 100-tackle guy last year. So they've got secondary guys that can play up in that box and play in the run defense side of that. So I would say, try to take away the run game as best you can. If you're going to pick your poison, have Jacoby Brissett try to throw over you.
Play-by-play man for the Carolina Panthers, Jim Szoke. Jim, have a great call on Sunday.
Jim.
Enjoy the game.
Thanks.
I think it's going to be very entertaining. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you down the road.
And there you go.
Jim froze up right at the end.
Froze at the absolute worst time.
had to
Or
freeze.
the absolute best time.
Yeah, right.
One or the other.
Yeah.
The great Jim Szoke. There he
There
is.
you go.
I think if you're the Carolina fan base, we've been there, where you've had 3 straight seasons where you've just been in the tank and your season's over by early November.
Or 10 straight seasons.
But it never kept the Browns from having great enthusiasm to begin the next year.
Never.
I mean, they will fill First Energy week 1.
Doesn't matter.
With off-the-chart enthusiasm no matter what. I don't know if the Panthers are going to be able to have that same level that the Browns fans have brought, just because the passion and the longevity of our franchise certainly is increased a lot more than the Panthers. But I do think it's going to be a hostile crowd. And I know I mentioned this, and I had some buddies that were watching that said I'm nuts. And I know you guys kind of looked at me like I was crazy. But I think if you win the toss, you take the football first. I don't
know why you'd be nuts. I mean,
I had a lot of people saying you never take the football. You get it in the second half. Nonsense. Belichick started that. Now everybody does it. But back in the day, everybody, when you won the toss, you took the football.
I think it's overrated. I think whatever you do, who cares?
I know, but
it doesn't matter.
When I look at the worst case scenario, aside from Carolina taking the opening kickoff for a touchdown, the next worst case scenario for me, and because you're on the road, you don't want that home crowd to be stoked. They're already ready to go. I think if you give it to Carolina and they have that sustained 12-play, 80-yard drive, which Baker, I have to say, Baker has looked historically pretty damn good on that first drive.
And then,
and then after that, you're like, come on, where did that
scripted,
go?
Right?
Right. So I just think that you run the risk. Now, if Carolina gets the ball and you have a 3-and-out and you sack Baker on 3rd down, that's great for the Browns, but I just don't want to see a 7-0 score.
I got no problem with them taking the ball first,
touches the ball.
I never get caught up.
Whatever
in
they want to do. Bro.
Yeah, whatever they feel like.
It's fence riding.
All right, Mikey.
No fence riding.
No fence riding. Yes, if you ride the fence, you lose in
Let's
this game. We have a 6-pack of questions for y'all today.
I love
Only
this.
one unanimous answer, and these are what we determined in the production booth, the 6 most important questions that will play into the outcome of the Browns-Panthers game. So without further ado, let's run back our Week 1 edition of No Fence Riders. Question number 1. Will Amari Cooper have more receiving yards than DJ Moore on Sunday? And the answers, Bull says yes.
Oh, wow.
The other 3 say no.
Wow.
Bull, you want to defend yourself first?
I don't need to defend myself. These guys are embarrassing themselves with their no, so they should defend themselves.
We'll find out Monday.
I mean, Amari Cooper, who's Amari Cooper going up against? The kid who's played 2 games in the NFL and got hurt?
It's not who he's going up against.
It's still
who's
to
throwing
get him the ball. So what? Neither guy's being thrown to by a particularly great quarterback. I don't care.
But you've acknowledged that Baker has
I know
the
that,
edge
but
on
it's
this.
irrelevant. I care more about who's covering.
What
DJ Moore? What? DJ Moore's going to get off against Denzel Ward? A healthy Denzel Ward? No.
What have you seen from Amari Cooper?
Zero.
Ever.
Well,
in this uniform.
I don't need to see it in uniform. I've seen him in his career. He's a better player than DJ Moore, and he's got a worse cornerback on him. That to me is a win.
Better quarterback.
I know, but I got 2 things going in my favor.
Okay.
The DJ Moore has one thing. He has a better quarterback, but Amari Cooper's a better player and has a much easier matchup than DJ Moore's got to deal with Denzel Ward, one of the best corners in the league.
And it's raining.
So what?
It's going to rain.
But raining affects both teams. That doesn't do
okay,
anything.
and they're probably going to run the ball.
I think the Browns are going to be more run-heavy than Carolina. That's ultimately.
Okay.
I think Carolina has the better quarterback. I think we're going to run it more. That's
Carolina
why
wants to run
made my decision.
They run
Jay,
to win.
What was your rationale?
This was the hardest one for me because I originally was with you,
and
then I flipped for kind of what you said. I think they're going to be run-heavy. I think Njoku's going to be involved. I think it's closer between Amari Cooper and DJ Moore than you're making out to be. I think Cooper's descending and Moore's ascending in terms of talent.
I don't believe he's descending. I think he just had a down year. I don't believe it's a trend.
I think he's on the wrong
I'm not
side.
saying it's that big a difference between the two. It is a big difference between who's guarding them, though.
You know, I think one of the things we're going to learn about Amari Cooper's mental fortitude is he's taken some shots. He's taken some hits from the media, and a lot of people have said what you just said about him. He's on the wrong side.
Yeah.
And if I want a player that when he hears that, he's hell-bent on proving everybody wrong.
Sure.
So let's see.
All right, Mike, can we keep
show
track
us.
of this?
I just can't. I can't go in with a clear conscience being like, I have not seen Jacoby Brissett throw a pass to you. You came off a down year. It's raining outside. You're on the road.
But they're both. It's raining for both teams. What does the rain have to do with it? The Panthers are looking to run too. Jim just told you they want to run the ball.
If that's a 10%, and you got a backup quarterback throwing you the ball.
That was key for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was key
But you
for
guys
me.
have disregarded the coverage by the corners.
No, I took that into account.
All right.
I took that into account. Here's the other thing. I think one thing that works in your favor is I believe the Browns have 2 viable targets. I do. I think Njoku and Cooper are going to be widely targeted throughout this game.
So who are the Panthers viable
Well,
targets?
the Panthers, I know that you don't look at Anderson as a viable receiver.
No, I do. He's a decent receiver.
And Christian McCaffrey is going to
well,
catch
but if you're going
balls
to count
out of the
Christian McCaffrey,
backfield.
then I'll count Kareem Hunt.
No, I'm actually saying it works in your favor. That works in your favor.
Yeah.
I think the Browns, because they have 2 targets, two real viable targets, I think you're just going to see run, pass to Njoku. Run, pass to Njoku.
Yeah, I don't know that the Panthers have any more viable targets. I don't agree with that because you mentioned McCaffrey as their 3rd viable target. I'll say Kareem Hunt.
He will be in their top 3 pass catchers Sunday.
Who? Kareem Hunt.
McCaffrey.
Yeah, and so will Kareem Hunt.
I hope.
Potentially.
I hope.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if we're going to count, and then beyond that, if we're going to count any of the other Panthers receivers, like Rashard Higgins, well, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I could count him too. So I think both teams have equal amount of contributors.
Okay. What's number 2?
We ready for question number 2? This involves the running backs.
All right.
Will Nick Chubb have more total yards than Christian McCaffrey on Sunday? It was not unanimous. Let's see the results. G. Bush, the lone Nick Chubb stand here. G. Bush, you want to start?
I just think he gets if they want to win, and I think I'm picking the Browns to win. I think Nick Chubb has to have 150 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but he could have 150. He's not going to get many, if any, receiving yards. That's why I picked him because he could have 150 rushing, and McCaffrey might have 170 total.
I think Chubb will have more rushing yards than McCaffrey.
Yes, it was just rushing yards I'd bet on Chubb.
Yes, but total yards,
right,
Chubb's
McCaffrey could have 80 receiving yards.
Yes, and he probably will.
So do you think about this? If McCaffrey has 4 catches for 50 yards, right?
Yeah.
That'd be a slow day for him.
4 for 50, that's decent. It's 11 a pop. Plus he got about 80. That's still 130.
Right.
So you're saying Chubb's going to go for more than 130?
Oh, he has to.
That would be a good sign for the Browns if he does.
If they don't go for that,
if you're right about that one, if you're right about that Nick Chubb has more rushing, more total yards than McCaffrey,
Browns are going to
win the game.
Listen, I think that is the key to this football game.
The Browns could still win if McCaffrey has more total yards than Nick Chubb. I can't see the Panthers winning if Chubb has more total yards than McCaffrey.
I can't either because he's their guy.
Yes.
I mean, he is their workhorse, and you heard Jim. He's healthy, and he spent a lot of time this offseason talking to guys like Marshall Faulk on how to keep your body in shape. Because all of the injuries, fortunately for him, he wasn't tearing ACLs. He didn't have major injuries.
It's just a lot of nagging injuries the last couple of years.
Yeah. So, I think that's really the thrust of number 2, right?
Yeah.
Unless anybody else.
It's the only way. It's the only way that I see that the Browns have a path to winning. And so I said.
See, I think they can win even. I don't think Nick Chubb can't have a bad game.
Right.
If Nick Chubb has 14 carries for 36 yards, it's going to be a long day.
Please don't even.
But I don't think he has to have more total yards than McCaffrey.
I got a pit in my stomach when you said those numbers.
Or I better hear Kareem Hunt got about 97, 98 yards, and he got 14 carries or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's where I came off on that.
Okay. What's number 3?
Let's go to number 3 and hit the receivers again. This one, a little bit of a fun question, but will Anthony Schwartz have more catches than drops?
I think this is going to be unanimous.
Nope.
This was the unanimous.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I thought you guys were all going to be on the other side of that one.
No, I figured that we all were going to say yes. You know why? We all want him to have more catches than drops.
And just because
he damn well better.
I just feel like the drops have been so overblown. We've made such a big deal about it, and I don't know. I think I'm just going to have a hunch he's going to be really focused. I don't think he's going to have a lot of either.
Even if he has a drop.
He's going to get a catch.
He only needs 2 or 3 catches.
Right. That's why I said this was easy
but
for me.
It
was the easiest one for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me present evidence B to the equation. Look at the graphic on the screen. This was the last preseason game against Chicago. 3 drops, 1 reception on 6 targets.
Yeah, it's preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, it could.
And by the way, he's been hearing that every day for the last 2 weeks.
So do you think that makes it easier for him, or now is he going to be in his head even
We're
more?
going to find out.
It's like free throw shooting.
Just like we're going to find out, what kind of person and competitor Amari Cooper is.
Yeah.
We're going to find out if Anthony Schwartz has NFL mettle.
If he's mentally tough.
Because
And
he's
by the
been
way-
hearing it for 2 weeks. If he goes out there and self-fulfill prophecies, dropping footballs all over the place, you got to think about releasing him, because
Right.
I don't care if he's your draft pick or not. The idea that all 24 of Andrew Berry's draft picks are on the roster, I think that's a bad thing. I think that's a bad thing, because at some point you make mistakes. We know where they are. We've seen them. And if you're not willing to admit your mistakes and try to correct them, it makes it worse.
I tend to agree with you, but he hasn't been here that long. Like,
No, I know
I'm
he
trying to think
hasn't,
of a
but-
draft pick. Schwartz might be the best, but is there
Schwartz,
another
for me,
one?
Schwartz is the best
'Cause
example.
I can't think of another guy that's like.
But I
he
just don't
shouldn't be on
see
the
giving
team
up
anymore.
on a guy after 1 year.
I agree.
It's
That's
1
why
year.
I said I wouldn't cut him. It's not time.
He's going to drop 2 passes this game. I'm going to tell you that.
So you got
You
him
think?
3 catches,
He'll
2
catch,
passes,
he'll catch
2
3.
drops.
Because screens count. Bubble screens, all that count.
I'm
You know what
saying
might
no
determine
drops.
it? What might determine it is what he does on the first target. Because if he drops the
Sure.
first target,
He's
Jacoby Brissett might be like, okay, dude,
We just heard
no.
Tim Couch talk about that when
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
on before.
Yeah.
About,
Yeah.
sometimes
Quarterbacks
he going back
process
to
that.
him.
Yeah, he gonna get one in the
But-
first and one in the second.
But I mean, right there, you think, how many targets is he really going to have? I don't think he's going to have that many
5,
targets.
6,
5,
maybe,
maybe.
1
I'd be
quarter.
surprised if it was even that many.
One thing that you would want to do if you're trying to soften the defense, like they're going to run
First
the
play.
ball, we know that. So you're going to want to stretch the field at some point, and he's the guy you stretch the field with.
Yeah.
That's why I giggled when Jim was talking about they're going to tear the top off with Baker and they want to take shots down the field. I'm like, yeah, well, we heard that before.
Yeah,
we
have
heard
heard
that
that
last
before.
year. They
That's
couldn't
true.
do it.
Yeah.
All right, wow, we're flying through this.
Well, the next 2, I think, are going to lead to the biggest and most heated discussions
All right.
here.
I think the third one will too, to be honest.
Well, that was the third one.
We've got 4, 5, and 6. I
That
think
means the third of the remaining
So the
3.
third of the remaining.
The last 3 were the big 3. So
Yeah,
let's-
I agree with you.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hit this one, Mike. Let's take it. Will Myles Garrett record more sacks than the Browns score offensive touchdowns versus Carolina? We all talked about the points everyone said about
Wow. I thought I was
And
going to
it's
be
3-1.
alone.
Jay,
Wow. Okay, so I'm shocked at this. I thought for sure someone was going to join me.
Yeah.
This was hard.
It was
a hard
hard,
one.
and I
It was
was
tough.
originally I was a yes.
I had to get off the fence because I was originally like 2-2.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I got to
This
break
was
the
the
tie.
hardest one for
Yeah.
me. And what I ultimately decided was that I think both are going to be high numbers. I think the Browns are going to score 3 touchdowns. I think
wow.
I think Myles is going to get 2.5 sacks. I think he's going to be in on a third.
Yeah.
And so often and I think you said this earlier this week, and it's very true, when the media is always saying the same thing and everybody's saying, well, you can guarantee this is going to happen. This is the NFL. Mm-hmm. And
It never goes
it
the way.
never goes that way. And what everybody has been saying universally, from ESPN to the NFL Network to the local media to the Carolina media, man, this tackle's in for a long day.
Mm-hmm.
He's in for a long day. What usually ends up happening is they're either going to give him more help than they're planning on giving him, so he doesn't, because they don't want to humiliate this kid in his first game.
Right.
And I know that Jim said that, Matt said, well, yeah, we're gonna give him help, but we can't help him a lot.
Right.
They're gonna help him all they need to help him, because it's very important for his development that he doesn't go out there and get boat raced for 8 sacks.
Right.
So I think Myles is gonna have a great day, but I do think that the Browns are gonna score 3 touchdowns.
I don't know why I feel this way. I just get a feeling like he really might be knocking on the sack record this year. It sets up that way, right? I look at it this game. I look at the games where he's playing the Jets. Then you got the Falcons. If he can come out in this game and give you 3.5, 4 sacks, he's already off to he might have a record-breaking season. And it sets up that way because Baker will hold the ball. Baker will roll into sacks. Baker kind of does not have the vantage point of being tall enough to stay in the pocket and deliver because he gets a lot of balls back down. I think he could potentially have 4 sacks in this game. And they won't all be just because he's destroying the left tackle.
Right.
It'll be because pocket awareness, pocket presence in running it. Because I saw it. I'm like, Baker, just step up, bro. You got the lane. Throw the ball. I think Myles Garrett is going to have a monster year. I really do. I just think he's silently confident about that, too.
I think you're high on three touchdowns. I think you're thrilled if you get 2.
Yeah.
If they get to 20, 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals.
Yeah. That's where I got him at.
That's why I think you hope that's enough.
I got
to
him
win
at
the
21, but three touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So if you factor in 2 touchdowns, the rookie tackle, like we were saying, and the fact this is week 1, he's healthy, he's rested. He's not beaten up. This isn't week 12, week 13, where you have the wear and tear of the season.
Sure.
I think I meant to look this up, but I think historically he has big games in week 1. Mm-hmm. Probably because
his
of what
first
I just
snap as a pro, he got a sack.
Yeah. So I think just the fact that his legs are fresh, he's feeling good, he's not beaten down. I would take 2.5 to 2, 3 to 2. I think it's going to be close in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to score very many offensive touchdowns, so it's not going to take very many sacks for Myles.
Yeah, I got Myles Garrett with 3 sacks and the Browns with 2 offensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
I have them winning the game 23-17, 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals in this game. I do think a lot of times when everybody thinks it's going one way, it will go the other. I talked about yesterday, the public is all over the Panthers in this game. That's why the line, I think, is off. I think it should be a pick-em or maybe even the Browns a slight favorite. I think it's way off, and that's why the sharp money is on the Browns in this game. Same thing in Seattle, Denver. I think the Browns are going to throw more than you guys and most people expect because I think nobody expects them to. I think they'll throw a little more than we expect.
But that's not who they are.
They have the great tendency.
I'm not saying they're going to throw it 60% of the time.
Right.
I'm just saying they're going to throw it a little more than we would guess going in.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think they're going to. I've got the numbers to show you. You've got to throw the ball if you're going to win the NFL.
They want teams thinking about their passing game so they can dominate on the run. And I think in this first game where they know they're playing a team that's not a great offensive team, I think they're going to try to do it that way. But the one thing that I think everybody thinks that's going to happen is I think this left tackle is going to get his ass kicked. And because, as you said, fresh start of the season, you talked about Myles Garrett, first games. I think he's going to kill this guy. And as G said, Baker walks himself into sacks. He holds the ball too long sometimes, and that could be a problem.
You know, the danger of predicting that a record is going to be broken before the season starts.
It's crazy.
It happens a lot. I'm sure there's other examples that you guys could give. The 2 that jump out to me was, I remember when Randy Moss went to New England, everybody said, well, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he did. That was crazy.
And another time that I can think of it actually coming to fruition was when when it was obvious that Barry Bonds was no longer human, guys were predicting, well, McGuire's record is definitely going down because I don't care if they walk him 100 times, and they did. 200 times. Yeah. Bonds is going to break the record, and he did. Yeah. But a lot of times, guys go, you'll hear media members say, he looks great, he's going to break the record. It's a record for a reason.
What is the sack record? 20 what?
23 and a half. I don't know what it is.
21.5. I'll get you 1 sec. But
that was so cheesy. Strahan, it's an illegitimate record.
Yeah, it was an illegitimate record.
Brett Favre gave him that.
Favre fell down.
It's 22.5 for the record.
22 and a half.
But
there's 17 games now.
Right.
So
it's 17 games. He had 16 last year. Most of the half last year he was injured. And I look at it the fact that he hasn't really done anything in training camp. He ain't played in nothing.
Again, Myles Garrett's issue has been he's never full. Most years he's not fully staying healthy for the full year.
Yeah.
He has some nagging things. He's got to be consistent all season. Instead of just great for some of the season.
Right.
If he's going to get Defensive Player of the Year, this is the year.
This is it. He's got to dominate all year.
It sets up for him, especially the first 4 opponents.
Well, Donald's still there.
Yeah.
TJ's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, there is stiff competition for that.
There is.
You know what I think helps him is that this award means something to Myles.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about it.
Yeah.
A lot of guys don't want to talk about personal accolades or accomplishments. He'll tell you, I want the record.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that.
Yeah, I got no problem with it. It motivates. He uses it to motivate himself, I think.
I want to bring something to everyone's attention. Let's take tag board full real quick, Mike. Is there a first 4 quarterbacks with more sackable faces than the 4 quarterbacks the Browns will face in weeks 1 through 4? I mean, Baker Mayfield, Joe Flacco, Mitch Trubisky, and Marcus Mariota. There's not a 4 more sackable bunch than those 4.
That's pretty
Joe
good.
Flacco is playing. They are.
I can't.
That's a group of kind of punchable faces. I mean,
very sackable.
Yeah, these are.
Baker Mayfield's got the most punchable face. I mean, I'm not doing it because I'm too old. But
I can see 10 sacks right here.
Mitch Trubisky in that picture looks like my man Hayden Grove. Do you guys know Hayden Grove?
Yes.
Yeah. I do, yeah.
Exactly
I don't
like
think it's funny. I don't view Trubisky as a retread. I don't. I look at Trubisky as a guy who was a victim of a horrible offense around him in Chicago, who had some great moments and a great season, and then made the weird choice to go to Buffalo for a year where he knew he wasn't going to touch the field unless Josh got hurt. But I'm telling you,
nobody else wanted him at that point.
I know that you're dismissing Pittsburgh. One of the storylines that I think will be prevalent by week 6 is the fact that Mitch Trubisky has the Pittsburgh Steelers in a spot where not many people thought they would be.
I don't know.
Because that defense is great, and I'm telling you.
I don't buy that it's great. I think it's overrated again. I mean,
No,
we're all used to saying Pittsburgh's defense is great. I don't see where it's great.
Well,
I think
up front, it's great.
I think they got a really good defensive line. I don't think the rest of their defense is. I mean, who's
We'll
good?
see.
Their linebackers and their DBs. Who's so good?
I think Trubisky's going to shock everybody. We'll revisit it at week 6.
I think in their back 7, the only special player they have is Minka Fitzpatrick. I don't think there's anybody else.
And he is very special.
We'll be visited week 3.
Yeah, no, we will.
And I don't know.
Whether we want to or not.
If we're not going to call Trubisky a retread, then we can't call Mariota a retread either.
No, Mariota's with his second
he's been
team.
with multiple teams.
He's
on his third
Tennessee.
He went to the Raiders and sat.
Yeah, he didn't you didn't see him.
He got the same thing as Trubisky.
Yeah,
but this is only Trubisky's second team.
You know, if
it's his third team.
Third team. You're right. You're right.
Same thing.
If you look at Mariota's
Mariota
stats,
had his moments just like
his
Trubisky had
stats
his
are
moments.
almost identical to Baker's. They're the same guy.
Yeah, I mean, Trubisky didn't do anything in Chicago. I don't know how he made that Pro Bowl that one year. He wasn't that. If you look at his numbers,
He had good numbers. No, he had good numbers.
They weren't. He had like 22
was the
touchdowns
second
and 12
all-
picks.
I know, but look at what they did. That Chicago team, he wasn't
They
slinging
won
the ball
games,
all over the
but
yard.
it wasn't really because of him. He's good with his legs, but he didn't have a great completion percentage. He didn't throw a ton of touchdowns. He threw double-digit picks.
He's one of the players I'm most fascinated to see how he does in a new environment. I'm not sold on the fact that he's going to be this washout guy that people remember from his last year in Chicago.
If the Browns ever want to be good, we can't be sitting back waiting for Big Ben to retire. You waited on Ben, he retired, then you get a new retread.
Nobody's scared of Mitch Trubisky.
They got to go get that.
Okay.
They got to get that.
Yeah.
Put that on the week 3 docket to lead the show. Because
If he's still starting then.
We have two
you think
questions
he'll be benched
left.
by then?
I mean, it could be.
We are wildly in different corners on Mitch
If he
Trubisky.
plays crappy the first 2 games, he could be.
I don't know that they're ready to throw Pickett in there as
We'll talk about Trubisky
rookie.
and Pickett in week 3, but we got
Okay.
two more
A
questions
lot. Okay.
to address in this week's matchup with the Carolina Panthers. Let's take the next one here. Question number 5. Will Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both be in the backfield for at least 2 plays on Sunday? This was not unanimous. The only one who trusts Stefanski.
Bull, you hopeful soul.
Oh, I don't trust Stefanski at all. I'm just saying he better freaking do it or I'm destroying him on Monday. Well, if the Browns lose and this doesn't happen, Kevin Stefanski's getting an earful from me. I'll tell you that.
He probably won't listen, but you're going to
Well,
lay
everybody
into
else
him.
will have to listen.
You know what? The tricky thing for me was in the backfield.
Yeah.
I think.
I didn't take note of that specific.
I did. I thought you were being tricky with your words.
No, I was just trying to get a 2-back set. Like a 2-back
Yeah, like
set.
if it had been worded, will they be on the field for more than 2 plays
That's how
together?
I took it.
I would have said yes, they will be on the field for more than 2 plays together.
I don't even
but
think
they're
that's
not going to
happen.
both be lined up behind the quarterback.
Okay, I
don't think
took
we'll
it
ever
as if
see
will they
that.
both be on the field
Not
for
going to
2
happen.
plays at the same time.
Not
G.
going to
Bush
happen.
is saying not going to happen
Not
regardless.
gonna
He
happen.
probably is
We have
right.
no evidence. Like, he hadn't done it yet. He's not
There
gonna
is
do
no
it
evidence.
now.
I am trying to be proactively positive and say Kevin Stefanski's got to freaking wisen up and be smart wise up and be smart this year and be more creative. So I'm hoping he does it. Even though you're right, he probably won't.
I almost get a sense with Kevin on this issue
Yeah.
that he's almost just defying everybody.
Because we all want it to happen.
Because everybody's screaming for it. If he
Yeah.
does it, then he looks like he's a puppet to the fans.
Right. And if it
the
works,
media.
then we're like, well, why did you do it before?
Exactly. So
That's not a reason not to do it,
You
but
know,
it
Marty
feels that way.
Schottenheimer was notoriously stubborn like that, and it cost him his job here. And I always hated that because Marty was a great head coach, and Art gave him the ultimatum: you get an offensive coordinator in here, or you're done.
Yeah.
And Marty walked.
You can't live life on an island. You can't. I don't care who you are. if you don't listen, even if you were the king back then, you listen to the hand of the king, right? You hire good people around you that tell you the truth.
You watched a lot of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, of course I do.
Watched The Dragon?
Hey, but of course. Oh, listen, God.
I haven't watched this weekend's episode.
You got to go get it. Game of Thrones, The House of Dragons. Oh my gosh, great. Go watch it. By the way, if Kevin Stefanski had dragons, he wouldn't use them. He like,
everybody would be telling him to use them.
You have 5 dragons in the pit. What are you doing? You could burn them up. You could burn King's Landing. No, just send foot soldiers.
I must be watching a different game than everybody else because I see a head coach who's actually fairly creative and making runs look like passes and passes look like runs and doing a great job of getting guys open. He didn't have a quarterback who could get the ball to the guy who was open.
That's true.
So it wasn't the play calling. It was never the play calling. There's dudes open all over the field.
I agree with some of that.
Get him the ball.
There were times it was the play calling.
I don't disagree with you, and I think we're not really talking about play calling. This is more play design.
But I'm saying if what he's doing is working, he didn't have the guy who could get the ball where it was supposed to go.
I agree with that.
But it doesn't matter if Kareem and Nick are. I would like to see it too.
Yeah,
but
that's why I'm saying I think
it's working if you've got a guy who could actually get the ball to the friggin' guy who's open.
Well, he still doesn't have the guy right now.
Well, you make it sound like his completion percentage was 40%. He was getting the ball to the right spot plenty of times.
There were plays where guys were open down the field and Baker's checking down.
There's plays where every quarterback does that.
Yeah, I know.
And not every quarterback is completing every throw.
But we're making
when you look at the percentage of Baker's completion percentage, see, everybody says it's bad. What's a great completion percentage for a quarterback?
Anymore? It's around 70%.
Okay, what was Baker's?
Like 62.
Okay, so in the grand scheme of things,
there's a lot of guys.
It's like the batting average. Like, people will say, well, 280 and 260, what a difference. It really isn't.
No, but in the
That's
NFL,
a huge difference.
there's a lot of quarterbacks.
8 more throws per 100.
That's a big deal. That's 4 completions per game, basically.
It is, but it's
You
not
guys
like
want the numbers?
he's
I have the numbers
48%.
right here.
You give us the numbers.
Joe Burrow, of all quarterbacks who qualified, Joe Burrow led the league last year with a 70.4%.
Yeah, I figured he was at 70. That's not, but that's the bar.
He was the only quarterback with a QB completion percentage of 70%.
Yes.
Of starting quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield ranked 26th at 60.5%.
Okay, now what was the average? That's what we want. Because they'll give me the bar.
Give me a sec to do the math.
I mean, he's been.
You can find that.
In his career, he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, completion percentage.
He's not good.
But again,
when you're talking
that number,
26, there's 25 dudes better than you.
Right, but you're talking about, like, if the difference between 26th and first is 10 percentage points, I'll give you this. You'd love it to be 70, but it's not like it's 48.
Well,
it's not like there's a huge
48.
gap.
I got you. The average completion percentage for starting quarterbacks in 2021 was 65.6.
Okay, so that's
but it's
pretty well below average.
65% to 60%. It's not like it's 20%.
But you have to look at the ones he's missing. If you are setting something up as offensive coordinator and you get a shot play and it's open and you don't hit it, you've worked 2 quarters to
missing
hit that.
4 passes per game.
That kills you.
G. Bush, to that point, every quarterback in the league is doing that 3 out of 10 plays. The best quarterback in the league is still missing his guy 3 out of 10 times.
No, that's not true.
It's at least incomplete. He didn't complete the pass.
Jay,
so there are drops that factor
in. The bottom
into
line
that.
is Baker is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league in terms of completion percentage.
That's a fact. That's a
Yeah.
fact. What I'm telling you is
Yeah.
to characterize it as he can't get his guys the ball. That's not true.
Well,
comparatively to the other quarterbacks in the league.
If the difference, again, between the bar and Baker is 10 percentage points.
But when games are decided by 3 points and less than 2 points, it's a huge gap. It's a
You're
huge
right, but
gap.
it's when you put it that way, you make it sound like he's completely incompetent, and that is why the offense has stalled all along.
No, I don't.
And it's never that way.
I don't think he's completely incompetent. What I would like to see, I don't like some of the play designs or the
I can agree with that.
Formations, right? And I'll just say, when you go look at other teams, right? I like McVay's playbook better. I like Andy Reid better. I like Shanahan better. I like. I actually like him for a running team. I even like the Tennessee Titans playbook better. And what I'm saying is, when I watch other teams, there are people wide open When the Cleveland Browns play, you tell me one person that's why they got to work for everything. They got to work for slants.
Which is why maybe he's hitting 60% instead of 70%. There are not guys running wide open.
There ain't nobody running open
when
like
I watch
that.
Green Bay, when I watch Tampa Bay, when I watch any Josh McDaniels, when I see these offenses, I'm watching
football teams with great quarterbacks.
Yeah, but when I watch them play, I said they're playing a different sport. How are these guys? We never have guys
weren't
that
running
wide
open in New England last year when Mac Jones was the quarterback.
No, they weren't. But Mac Jones was a pretty good quarterback.
Hey, this leads us right to our last question. So let's do our last question, and it continues this conversation.
Yeah.
Mike, let's punch it up. This is going to be the most contentious of all of them. Will Baker Mayfield throw more interceptions than Jacoby Brissett throws touchdowns on Sunday? And the answers: a real two-way split.
The wrestling
on the yes side.
Wow.
That's great.
The nasty boys.
I don't think Jacoby Brissett's going to have a touchdown pass because I think they're going to have 2 rushing touchdowns. And so all I need is 1 pick from Baker, which is that's a slam dunk. That's easy money.
Or if a push me, there was a push me no.
Well, yeah, push is no.
Yeah, I got to
Push
push
is no push.
Because it was Willie.
No. If it's equal,
If it's equal,
but
no.
the way it was worded,
push is a no.
it should have been worded, which will happen.
But then it doesn't fit the yes/no model.
Yeah, it doesn't fit
Yeah, I know,
a
but
push is no. So G, if you think it's a push,
I
it's no.
I think it's a push. It's 1-1. I think
that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I thought.
Throw 1 pick.
I thought or 1-1 or 2-2.
If you bet every Baker Mayfield game, is he going to throw a pick? You will be rich.
Yes.
Because more often than not, he throws a pick.
And if you bet every Browns game that they will score at least 1 touchdown through the air, you would still be ahead.
Yeah, you still.
They're still averaging more than 1 touchdown through the air per game. As bad as they've been, they have.
I don't think.
Right, but with Jacoby Brissett, I think they're going to have. I think it's going to be rushing touchdowns.
Listen.
Yeah.
It's troublesome. But if you're going to beat up Baker for his 61.6 career percentage,
which is deserved because it's bad.
Jacoby's worse.
That's why I wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. Unlike your,
I want a pony for Christmas.
Unlike your absurd defense of Baker on the completion percentage, when he's clearly one of the worst in the league, we are not defending Jacoby Brissett's completion percentage.
No, but what you're saying is he's going to complete. He's going to throw touchdowns.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're going to run touchdowns.
You said that he's going to have more
Baker's
throwing
touchdowns.
touchdowns.
Have more interceptions.
No, the question was what will be the higher number? Jacoby Brissett's throwing touchdowns?
So he has to throw 1.
No, I said it was going to be Baker's interception.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I said Baker only has to throw 1 because I don't think Jacoby's going to have any passing.
You know what? If they don't throw for a touchdown in this game, I think it's a terrible sign moving forward. I do.
I mean, what if he makes some nice plays down the field, but then Chubb runs it in for 2 yards?
At some point when you're at the goal line, and typically the way touchdowns are scored are inside 10 yards and in.
Yeah.
One of the things that drove me nuts last year about Stefanski was that offense. Because the year before, I thought I saw a lot of creativity inside the 10. In fact, he was known for that. Folks were saying, wow, this is kind of like Andy Reid light. And then all of a sudden, and I don't know why, but last year, it just felt like my son was calling the plays.
Because I think last year, 2 years ago, he had more trust in Baker, and he lost that trust in Baker as the year went along.
Yeah.
And that's why they ran. I think it's that simple.
Well, what changed that he lost the trust in Baker?
Baker wasn't playing well. He wasn't making good decisions.
And there was one other thing that changed from 20 to 21.
Yes, he was hurt.
Right. So if you know your guy can't get it done inside the goal line, you put someone in who can.
That ship has sailed.
How do you know it was his decision?
Listen, if that wasn't his decision, we're all in trouble.
Oh,
Just saying, how do you know it was his decision?
If Jimmy is making the call week to week on who he wants to see start, and you're absolutely right. I had someone tell me who thinks they know, by the way, that Baker played last year because Jimmy said, I got to see what I have.
Well,
if that
I've said that
true,
all year.
I
They
know,
had a $350 million decision to make.
Think about how troublesome that is if that's true. We've got Jerry Jones as our own.
That's a disaster.
I got more troublesome than that. I'm telling you, Kevin Stefanski was like, oh, okay, you're going to play yourself right out of this position, right? Here you go. You want the money? You want that bag? We know you hurt. Who cares? Here's the playbook. And you always
us making the playoffs be damned?
You really think they would have made the playoffs with Case Keenum?
That's what Case Keenum. He was better than, right?
Bro, they finished 1 game out of the playoffs last year.
You can't count the last game.
Well, you can because they won it.
Well, no, but the Bengals didn't play any of their starters, so you don't know what would happen.
Disappointments where they were that close,
right,
and they didn't get it done. I'm telling you, I think that everybody's looking at the chasm between the Bengals and the Browns as like they're way up here and we're way down. And that's not true.
I don't think the chasm's that big. I just think you can't count that last game.
Right. So what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, Stefanski's an adult. He's not going to, for the sake of making a point and running Baker out of town, going to blow up his playoff
I don't agree with that.
chances.
I agree with you on that, but I don't think Case Keenum's any good as a quarterback, so I don't think it matters.
I thought Baker was still a better option.
I think Case Keenum was a better option than a hurt Baker.
Probably, but I don't think significantly better.
Did Case Keenum play that poorly when he played? I don't think he did.
He played one game, they won.
No, I said watch him against the Bengals. That's how they should have been running the offense all year. He made a decision, got the ball out quick.
We got to bring Aditi in. Aditi!
The receivers knew where the ball was going. They knew it was going to get out fast, and it just yes, the Bengals weren't playing anyone, but it just looked different.
Yeah. It did.
Aditi.
Our favorite NFL sideline reporter is now joining us live from, I believe, her house in Pittsburgh.
It
is. This is not in Carolina yet. What's up, Aditi?
She's America's favorite sideline reporter.
Wait, what was that, Jay?
I said she's America's favorite sideline reporter, not just our favorite.
I just went on the radio this morning and talked about how nervous I am.
About
the job, about all of it, about being on the NFL Today, about the sideline gig, on making sure I don't miss anything juicy that Baker does or does not do, but which does.
It's TV, whether you do it at the NFL Network or at CBS. You don't need to hear this from me. The moving parts of it don't change. It is what it is, and you're terrific at it. Yeah. Nerves be damned. You're going to kill it. I guarantee you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Right now, I'm having angst over the fact that at 6 a.m., I got dressed in my running clothes, ready to go run. It's now noon. I still haven't gone out for my run. So do I just bag it? Or do I do it?
Running's never a good idea. So, yeah, you bag that immediately. Also, Aditi, are you wearing Panthers colors on our show right now?
She is.
It's true.
It's a Super Bowl hat.
Okay.
No, but I do. I have a problem. Okay, so have you guys seen the weather, the expected weather on Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah, so of course, I'm the queen of bad weather. I can never leave it. Even if I leave Cleveland, I'm still in bad weather. I have a problem. I have exactly 2 raincoats. Well, I have one that's an NFL Network one that obviously CBS doesn't want me to wear. But one is orange, and the other one is 2 shades of blue, which are the Panthers' 2 shades of blue.
So you have to go buy
Sounds like you're going shopping.
Yeah, you're going shopping, not running.
I don't have time. That's what the problem is.
When's your flight?
I don't have time to go shopping.
I mean, CBS has got 8,000 CSI shows. Don't they have the money to buy you a jacket?
No, apparently my
America's
producer
most
did ask
watched
them,
network.
do we have CBS-issued rain gear, and he was told no.
I mean, that's just terrible. Terrible job by CBS.
Yeah, they've got it. They've got to do better.
Hey, we're not ripping my new employer before I.
Hey, look. You got to catch them. They'll bull or get you.
Yeah,
that job
true.
out of them. Next thing you know.
I'm just saying, if you see me in one of those clear garbage bags, you'll know why. Because I was having this show.
What you should do is look up. Did you ever see the movie The Fisher King with Robin Williams?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He dressed up. He walks around the park with like a stickball bat and a garbage bag over him. And it's not clear. It's like a black garbage bag. I think that could be a new look. You could start a new style with that, maybe.
Maybe, but I try to not wear black on TV. It's like the black hair on the black. I just avoid it.
Yeah, you can get one when you land in Charlotte. I'm sure they've got stores there that have raincoats.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what? I can confirm there's at least one store in Charlotte that sells raincoats.
And writing notes, and you should see all the notes I've taken on Baker Mayfield and
when are you
Baker
speaking
Mayfield
to him?
or Baker Mayfield.
When are you speaking to Baker? Are you speaking to him? Definitely.
Saturday, and I hope that I get to talk to him Sunday when he comes to the stadium.
His ass kicked? Oh no.
No, I mean when he, pregame talk to him.
What do you think? Like, if you could only ask him one question, what would you want to know from him right now?
Oh gosh, talk about putting a person on the spot.
I know. I'm sorry.
First of all, Aditi never asked just one question.
I know that, but if you only had one.
Let's be honest. I mean, when I was told I could only have 3 with Deshaun Watson, you know how many hours it took me to figure out what those 3 were? To winnow it down? I almost wonder if it might just be what I've already asked him. which he didn't have an answer for then. And I'll take you back to when the Browns were in Cincinnati last year. Sorry, Adam, I know, not a good feeling for you. But it was that Odell Beckham week. It was the week that Odell Beckham's father put out that video suggesting that his son was constantly open and Baker just never saw him. And then Odell was asked to stay home from the facility 2 days in a row, and the Browns ultimately decided to release him, grant him his release. And then obviously, the Browns go into Cincinnati, who would eventually go on to the Super Bowl, but Cincinnati had been tremendous. In fact, that was one of only 2 losses I saw Cincinnati play in last year. I think I covered them 9 or 10 games, and they won every game except the Super Bowl, and that one against the Browns. Now, obviously, there was that very early pick 6 from Denzel Ward. That was there was the huge touchdown run by Nick Chubb. Yeah. But Baker also largely played a mistake-free, good, solid game. And after that game, I said to Baker something along the lines of why he continues to get so up for these moments. Why does he continue to love having sort of this idea of the world against him? And why can't he just bottle that every week? Like, why is it? Most guys will tell you, and this is a conversation, I know you didn't like it, Adam, when I said this last week, but I said most guys are going to tell you, like, a quote in a locker room, a bulletin board quote, doesn't really do that much for them. You know, I just got off the phone with John Johnson, the Browns' great, brilliant safety, and he said no one even talked about the shirt. He's like, he saw Baker's shirt on Twitter, but, like, no one has brought it up. Not even to, like, laugh about it or roll their eyes or say Baker is being Baker. And that's just the Browns' personality coming off of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, just really focused on the work. And Baker, this like goes back to high school when he played at a huge high school, and everybody that faced his team and on his team was recruited by a major school, and nobody offered him. And then he walks out of Texas Tech. Then he transfers to Oklahoma, and he takes it to Texas Tech twice when he faces them. Then Hugh Jackson says whatever it is that Hugh Jackson says and is jettisoned out of Cleveland. And what does Baker do the first time that he sees Hugh Jackson across the sideline in Cincinnati? 22, 21 consecutive passes. I better look that up, right? Does anybody know off the top of their head?
You're right. It's in that. I think it is 22. He was on fire.
Yeah, and again, so it was like last year when he's in Cincinnati after Odell Beckham's dad, of all people, is going after Baker, and Baker comes out and leads his team to this great victory. What is it? And even now, the shirt, like that to me just shows that the guy can't ever shake it. Like he knows that he needs some sort of added edge or some sort of extra because, you know, it was the great Joe Thomas who made the point about the shirt. He can do whatever he wants to do, but he has worked so hard and so consciously this entire time that he's been in Carolina to show that he's matured and that he's not, you know, succumbing to this nonsense and he's not getting involved in all of the little extracurricular stuff. And then the day after he tries to downplay an exchange that he had with Cynthia Freeland, out comes this shirt. And he clearly loves having the target on his back. He clearly loves being the underdog. He clearly loves having people question or doubt him. And they're doubting why he would do this, why he would create this extra attention or this extra spotlight or this extra target. That's because that's who he is. And I would just love to know, like, why? Why isn't it enough to just go out there and want to beat the guy opposite you? Why isn't it enough to just want to go out and give it your best every single time? Why do you need an added insult to get up for the game? Like that piece, I don't know.
We need a psychologist to get to the bottom of that.
I don't think it's that fascinating a question.
I do. I do. I'd like to know that too. I'd like to know what's going on inside his brain.
And Aditi, that's why I think he'll never reach the levels that you expect a franchise quarterback to reach, because he plays his best when he has those moments. What do you do in the other 13 games, the other 14 games? And
exactly.
And that's why I gave up on him midway through last year. That they needed to move on.
You can't manufacture a slight every single
day. That's exactly
it. And that's just no way to live, right? So like that's the piece that I get it that sometimes, you know, I joke about this personally, and I think, Adam, I may have even told you this once a few years ago when we were talking about my own work situation. There are honey people and there are vinegar people. My mother, for instance, is a vinegar person. You tell her she can't do something and oh my gosh, she will run you over to prove you wrong. I don't really operate that way. I like honey. I like you telling me that I'm good, and I work that much harder to prove you right. So I don't really understand why the guy needs vinegar. And obviously, you can't get vinegar every single day. Like, it just doesn't,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That piece is weird. And to your point, I think that is what's holding him back. I also wonder how different the offense really is. You know, he's trying to say that he's unleashed. He's trying to publicly talk about how Matt Rule gives him more freedom. He's taking kind of these subtle jabs at Kevin Stefanski last year being too conservative and chaining him up. And, you know, you guys were just talking about this. That might be chicken and egg. Was Kevin Stefanski conservative because of what Baker was capable of? Or is Baker saying that he was held back by a conservative Kevin Stefanski? I mean, I would argue the former rather than the latter. But really, I mean, it's not like the Browns are watching Oklahoma tape. It's not like Baker's going to be suddenly playing schoolyard football. Go look at what Ben McAdoo. Why do I keep calling him Bob?
Yeah, I did that the day he was hired, Aditi.
And was ruining for the Giants.
Yeah, and I did that the day he was hired. They got my ear and said the Giants hired Ben McAdoo, and I called him
He's
Bob.
not worth remembering his first name.
But Aditi, to your point, last year I asked Trent Dilfer, does Kevin's system limit his quarterbacks, or does Kevin build his system around limited quarterbacks? And Trent basically said Baker tries to do too much. He tries to play like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and he's not those guys. Don't try and save the play call. Just run what's in front of you. And I'll be curious to see moving forward this year. He could say whatever he wants about Kevin's system was bottling up or had him on the chain or whatever. He sucked last year. That's why the system was what it was, because he couldn't complete a pass down the field. So I'll be curious to see. And we had the Panthers play-by-play guy on earlier, and I'm really anxious to see Carolina's offense and how much similarity there is to what Baker has run here, if any, or if it looks completely different.
And I mean, one would argue, right? Like, he did also take sort of a subtle jab saying, well, clearly they were always going to run first, or they believed in their run game. Well, by the way, the Panthers have Christian McCaffrey, who they happen to think is one of the best backs in the game. And yeah, I mean, Baker has DJ Moore, sure, but in Cleveland, Baker also had Odell and Jarvis Landry. You know, like, so I just, again, we'll see. I'm obviously excited just from a spectator's standpoint, from a journalist standpoint. We know that it's not going to be a vanilla game. We keep saying this, that there are such juicy add-ons. And as much as, like, sometimes you just want the game to be the game. You just want the football to be the football. And it's enough to talk about a beautiful sack or a beautiful spin move. It's always fun to have a little extra juice. So sure, you know, like, I'm eager to see who hugs Baker Mayfield first. You know, when he gets out on the field, do people make a beeline for him? Does he actually walk over and say hi to guys before he starts warming up? What's his interaction with Kevin Stefanski like? You know, he said he was eager to get a hug from Nicholas Chubb. Does that actually happen? You know, I don't know. I'm curious about all of that.
Just as interesting will be Aditi at the end of the game, because a lot of times before the game, some players just don't like to go anywhere near the opponent. They've got to keep their anger up. But after the game, I think it's going to be very telling how much time he spends on the field, who he talks to, who he doesn't talk to. We look at all of that,
That's if he
whether
makes
it means
to the
anything
end
or
of the
not.
game.
And you know what, Jay? It's so interesting that you say that, because I was literally just thinking about this the other day. If I just lost a game, I don't know that I'd hang out for 10 minutes hugging guys and laughing, exchanging jerseys. Like, I'm a bad loser.
I am too.
Like, I can't see ya.
Yep, I'm out. I'm out.
Didi, if
So
Baker loses,
football, there is that piece of it where guys can at least turn it off for a few minutes to be charming and smile and do all of that. What about that? You think anybody's going to ask Baker for his jersey?
Well, I'll ask this.
Nicholas Chubb.
If Baker, that's right,
Baker
Chubb might do that. If Baker loses this game, do you think he does shake hands? Will he say anything to anybody, or he walks off?
I don't know, because remember, what was the game last year where he refused to talk
Detroit.
after the game?
After they won.
They
won, and he was still miserable.
Yeah.
I think he goes and finds Nick
and
Chubb.
He wouldn't even talk to people. I don't know, but that just made me have a laugh. I'm going to ask Myles Garrett about that. If Myles Garrett completely dirties Baker Mayfield's jersey, like if it's just a mess of blood and grass and dirt, and whatever, I don't even know if it's field turf or
what
grass.
What if he knocks him out of the game?
Like if it's got like stuff on it, is Myles going to ask Baker for his jersey after?
The jersey swap.
Nah,
I doubt that.
They're not going to do
Baker
that.
say, no.
What
Instead of the
decides
tombstones for
Aditi?
Halloween, Myles Garrett could hang up jerseys.
I
Go
know
ahead,
that
sorry.
I know you've been immersed in this matchup all week. What decides it?
I think the Browns defense, quite frankly. I mean, I feel as if this defense is poised to be a number 1, number 2, number 3, you know, don't put a number on it, but an elite amongst the best defense in the NFL. And I think, can they rattle Baker Mayfield? Can they get to him? Can they force him into making not great decisions? Can they come away with, you know, what they like to call splash plays, the takeaways? Reference John Johnson again. We were talking earlier about how much of a difference everybody being together in year 2 makes, and how last year there was a process. You know, you had a young player like Greg Newsome, but you also just had communication. You know, John Johnson was new. There were new pieces. There were 7 or 8 new starters a year ago. When was it that guys really started gelling? And he said it was a loss. It was that primetime game against the Ravens, but there were 4 takeaways. And it was like after that game, we knew that we could dictate things. And I feel like this is a team that could do that. Yeah. The Panthers are so high on Christian McCaffrey right now. Can they contain him in some way? You know, he's supposedly in the best shape of his life, and he's supposedly been held back a little bit by the coaching staff, being protected from himself, essentially. So can they contain him? DJ Moore, who quietly is an elite receiver who's played with a whole parade of questionable quarterbacks. Ostensibly, he's got better quarterback play than he's had in his career. What does he do? You know, or can you kind of contain him? I don't know. I really do think that this game comes down. It's a very AFC North answer, but I think it comes down to the Browns defense.
Yeah, and I think just to follow up on that, Aditi, like the Browns on paper have one of, if not the best secondary in all of football. Their issue over the last couple of years, especially last year since adding Newsome, is they have a lot of injury-prone guys in their secondary, but everybody's healthy to start this season. And as good as DJ Moore is and Robbie Anderson to some degree, I love the matchups for the Browns corners. And I think the secondary, which as you talked about John Johnson, and I didn't think John Johnson had a great first year with the Browns, and I'm expecting him to have a much better season this year. And I think with that secondary, I think Moore and Anderson are going to have a hard time coming open, at least right away. And that's where Myles Garrett could do his damage if they're trying to get the ball downfield. Because we know Baker tends to hold on to the ball longer to try to make something happen, and that's when he gets in trouble.
Right, and in Grant Delpit, you've got a guy that didn't necessarily start all of last year, but he played so much. And he and John Johnson have been communicating so much. I mean, even on the practice field, you listen, it's the chatter. It's the, you know, if they're silent. I remember Jesse Bates telling me this with the Bengals, that if I'm not seeing the safeties talk, then they're in trouble. And so basically what Jesse was saying is that Jesse Bates and Von Bell need to be talking the whole time. And when you watch the Browns secondary, when you watch John Johnson and Grant Delpit, you see that constant communication. You also see that with the corners. And to your point about being hurt, they're so deep at corner now. You know, you don't need anybody necessarily to play 60 snaps. You have guys you want to. I mean, you'd love to have Greg Newsome chase DJ Moore everywhere, including in the slot, or Denzel Ward, or, you know, but if Greedy is healthy, he's serviceable too. And how about the rookie, MJ Emerson? He looked good. You know, so like, again, I like that there are a number of bodies that can do different things, and Joe Woods can mix things up a little bit more this year because of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're all concerned about the defensive tackle position. It's the one, you know, it looks like the only weak spot on the defense. But they don't need those guys to be great. And they don't need them to get sacks. They just need to be stout in the middle and hold up there and be solid. Because the rest of the defense, I actually think I think Jok and Anthony Walker, in an age of the NFL where most teams are only using 2 linebackers most of the time, like those 2 guys are really good. Jok is I think he's going to have a monster season. Their ends are awesome. They're deep. I mean, you're right. I think there's no reason with relative decent health why the Browns can't have the best defense in all of football as long as their defensive tackles are not awful. They just need to be adequate, and I think they're going to be great as a unit.
And to that point, we keep saying this. They're young, and they're hungry, and they're physical. And, you know, up there, if there's one place where you can sort of get away or your physicality can ameliorate some of the youth, I think it's there. I think it's in the middle of a defense. I think it's playing that hard-nosed, push the line. Because remember, the Panthers have a new line too, a newly constructed line, which they hope is better, which they think is better, but they're playing together for the first time. I just don't know that we're going to see a ton of offensive fireworks. And maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't know. But I still think that the Browns would favor a methodical ball control the clock, move the ball, move the chains, don't constantly be gunning for the huge play. And I don't know that the Panthers are capable of being a constant quick strike, huge play offense. So that's why I'm saying I think it's really about the defense, about the Browns defense.
Aditi, so often you get a read from the players and how they're interacting and what their overall mood is through training camp, breaking camp, getting ready for the season. Do you get a sense that this Browns team feels internally that they're on the cusp of something very special? Or do you get a sense that they're looking around with no Deshaun Watson saying, how are we going to get this done? Are they leaning one way or the other for you?
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. It really is remarkable. You don't see the latter at all. And again, it just has to be that the personality of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry just absolutely permeates this organization, this locker room, this team. And, these players have known from the time that Deshaun Watson was signed that they would be without him for some period of time. I don't know that 6 versus 11 versus 12 versus 9, I don't know how much those numbers matter that much to them psychologically. And I think the bigger thing here, guys, is that Jacoby Brissett is an easy guy to buy into, externally. And that's another thing. I was asked this on the radio this morning, why, the Browns are an underdog, or why people, when you look at their roster top to bottom, because look, let's be honest, this is one of the most veteran, best offensive lines in the league. This is most definitely the deepest, best running back room in the league. This is a room with 3 now very nice tight ends, 2 that do a really good job blocking and are reliable pass catchers, and Jesse James can catch the ball too. This is a team that, yes, outside of Amari Cooper, has some young, unknown wide receivers, but not horrible wide receivers. I mean, David Bell, nobody knew what Jamar Chase was going to be at this point of last year. And I'm not saying that David Bell is going to be Jamar Chase, but you got to let a young guy at least show us what he has. So the offense looks pretty good outside the quarterback position. And the defense, as you just said, no obvious glaring holes or question marks other than defensive tackle. So really, I think all the doubts about the Browns externally are generated about Jacoby Brissett. And yet internally, the guy is very clearly a leader. The guy is very clearly somebody whose demeanor brings people along. I mean, he's just got this very, very level sense of poise. He's a professional. He's done it at different places with different teammates. Bill Parcells is his mentor. I don't know. I just think that the players have a lot more faith in what Jacoby Brissett can do to move the ball and move the team than perhaps people externally do. And I think that Jacoby Brissett's got that confidence because he knows the Browns wanted him. The Browns came after him before they secured Deshaun Watson.
They did, yeah.
Aditi, final question before we get you out of here. Who is this game more important for, the Panthers or the Browns?
I'd argue the Browns, because I think the Browns have aspirations to show that they are a contender here. I mean, it's important to both. From supposedly Matt Rule's job is on the line, and he's got some job security questions. And obviously the Panthers won just 5 games a year ago. They're looking for a big leap. I actually just looked that up. In the last 2 years, 5 teams have improved their win total by at least 5 wins, and all of them had either a new head coach or a healthy quarterback. Or a new quarterback. So either a new head coach or a new quarterback or a healthy quarterback. And so the Panthers have brought in a new quarterback. The hope is that they improve that 5-win total by at least 5. There is precedent for that. Baker Mayfield was responsible for actually doing the same thing in 2018. He was a new quarterback, and the Browns won more than 5 games than they'd won the previous year. But I still sort of think that much more is expected of the Browns, and a much bigger spotlight is on the Browns, not only because of who's on their roster, but because of the Deshaun Watson trade. And so there's just more riding there, it feels like, than the Panthers. I don't know what's really expected of the Panthers.
Yeah, I think they probably have a sense they're playing with house money. And to your point, the Browns do have aspirations. And one thing that will sink aspirations in a hurry is losing on the road to a team that, at least internally, you feel like you should win. It's not a good way to start a season. And it's the whole 1-19-1 on opening week that is still hanging over your head. For a franchise to completely wash itself of a poor culture, one by one they have to eliminate things like that so they never have to hear about it again. And I remember the year the Bucs won the Super Bowl. They were 0 and forever when it was 32 degrees or colder at kickoff. And, we in the media loved that. When I was working in Tampa, that was like, oh, okay, here they go. They're going to Green Bay. It's going to be 30 degrees. We know what that means. They finally did it. And I remember, if you don't think it's a big deal, the players were celebrating the fact that they got that off their back. Yeah. And I think this is big for the Browns because they're done hearing about that stat. Even though most of them had nothing to do with it, they don't want to hear it.
2 points to that, Jay. So one, I actually just read this. Last year of the 14 playoff teams, 10 won in week 1. So there is something to be said for setting a tone and starting the season in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not everything. The year that the Browns finally broke that playoff streak, they played an absolutely horrific week 1 game at the Ravens. So
you're right.
It's not everything, but it is like a nice trend. And then to your point, as much as a player will sit here and try to poo-poo a stat like that, like the one in, tell me again, the 1-21-1 or whatever, this idea, and Kevin Stefanski tried to say it was nothing, like, most of these guys are new to the team, or how many of these guys were even born, whatever. The truth is, the media brings it up. They get asked questions about it. I will never forget the year that the Browns, I'm not going to share this one right now. I'm sorry. I'll wait until next week.
That's okay.
No, you know what's funny about this, Jay? It's like now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of my stories, and it's like, don't use your best material before Sunday.
Save it for kickoff. Save it for kickoff. Exactly. And we'll all be watching to see what you decide. We'll all be watching to see what you decide on with the raincoat. I'm sure you'll knock it out of the park.
Unless I get lucky. Maybe you can all just say a prayer to the rain gods for me.
Well, you'll figure it out. I know you will. She's America's favorite sideline reporter, Aditi Kinkhabwala. Aditi, thank you. Have a great game. We can't wait to watch you in action on Sunday.
Down there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
She's going to kill it. I will tell you that in situations like she's in, she's as prepared right now as Jay Feely. If she had to, she could sit in the booth and be the color person for this game. In reality, they'll probably come to her 6 times would be a lot.
Yeah.
But she's a pro, so she's going to be overly prepared. And when she comes out of it, she's going to like, wow, I worked 40 hours for 2 minutes of airtime or whatever. But that's what makes her the pro she is.
By the way, I always find, sometimes I find that some play-by-play guys on TV almost try to force too many stats in there.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like they work so hard to prepare that they want to force.
I've got them on this sheet. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I got to use it.
Yeah,
I hate when they do that. Let it breathe.
What do you got, McNuggets?
It is time for what the internet is saying, and it's tied to the Browns season. So before we tell you what the internet's saying, let's tell you who brings you what the internet says, and that is our favorites at PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and signing bonuses. Yeah, all the above. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
Baby got PCC.
And
one.
Strike one for bold.
You can't win them all. What are you going to do?
So we asked the internet this morning.
We did.
Let's take tag board here full. It is the first day of the NFL season, and we wanted to wish a happy first day of NFL season to those who celebrate.
Happy New Year.
Using
GIFs make
only
me
a
nauseous.
GIF.
I can't even look at it.
Really?
Yeah, it makes me want to throw up seeing that repeat over and over and over.
That's a strange.
I can't look at it. I literally am going to get
strange
nauseous. If I look at it, I can't look at it. Oh.
Using only a GIF, tell us how you're feeling about the Browns season as a whole.
Yeah.
And we got a bunch of GIFs. Let's get to the first one.
I hate when they repeat that quickly.
Speaking of phobias,
I'm going to throw up.
This person from Superstore, prayers. I think some of us feel the same way. Could
And the
go
look
either
on the
What
face,
Superstore?
too. You
It
don't know the
was not a very good.
It was
sitcom.
kind of a. I thought they tried to rip off The Office a little bit,
There are no good sitcoms.
and
It was
it
not
really,
very good.
it really didn't make the grade. But they stuck with it for a long time.
Number 2. I like this one the most, my personal favorite. I don't know what it means. Well, I know what it means.
What do you mean you don't know what it means?
Pooping M&Ms.
I just thought this was funny. I
That
didn't
is
know
a
if this
good
meant like terrible or bad, but I just.
Well, based on the
Nervous.
look on his face, yeah, he's and what he's doing.
That's going to be what Baker looks like after Myles Garrett hits him a few times.
And last but not least, our most positive response: the Lombardi Trophy.
that's nasty. Stop doing
Yeah, don't lick.
Ugh, God,
I mean, in this age of COVID, I'm sure that was pre-COVID, but that's
It's
gross.
nasty, bro.
Yeah.
Bull just brought up a bunch of things. Like, that was a weird thing to, like, some people have weird things that they just can't do, or, like,
Yeah.
I can't smell eggs. If I'm around
So-
eggs, I'll throw up.
So
so do you eat eggs?
Never. Kidding me, bro? You ever smell those nasty things?
That's weird.
You know why God put our nose on top of our mouth? So we don't put crap like that in it. Hard-boiled eggs. You like hard-boiled eggs, bro?
Love 'em.
No, no.
Love 'em.
Love them. Love them. Do you ever smell them?
I'm cool on
Have I
that.
told you guys I have no sense of smell?
None? Zero? Is this a
Completely.
COVID thing or your
No,
whole
no.
life?
Since I was 7 years old. It's kind of a weird story how I found out, but I have no sense of smell at all.
So that's usually attached to your taste. Wow. So can you taste anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's maybe a
Well,
little
his
different
favorite
than how
food
you
is
guys
McNuggets.
taste.
Right.
So,
But if you put like barbecue chips, sour cream and onion chips, regular,
you can't
I can
tell
taste
the
them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can.
I
But
can.
no sense of smell. That's bizarre.
What happened?
I was just born like that. But when I was in second grade, we were learning about Helen. This is a true story. Swear. We learned about Helen Keller, and we
Yeah.
were doing the sense test. And we were 7 things in front of us, and you had to guess which one each was. And I guessed peanut butter for all 7. And my teacher was like, "Stop being an idiot, Mike. Like, do this seriously." I'm like, "Miss Merker, they all smell like peanut butter to me." She goes, "Well, do it again. If you think they all smell like peanut butter, go to the nurse."
I need you to go to the doctor's.
The nurse gave me a Tylenol like I was gonna fix anything.
Oh yeah,
I eventually went to the
she
hospital.
clearly went to nursing school.
Great school you went to.
I
Give him a
went to the
Tylenol.
hospital.
He'll be
and
all
they
right.
did some X-ray on my nose, and the olfactory nerve in my nose, it just isn't connected.
Wow.
It's like 2 millimeters off, so like there's no smell that goes
No
from here.
smell.
I wonder.
Can you get
There's
that
times
fixed?
that would be a good thing.
I'm sure that I'm very
Yeah,
self-conscious.
when like
That's why you didn't get the courtesy flush the other
right
day.
with the pooping.
He didn't know how bad it
Hey,
was.
can you get that fixed?
I guess maybe with the nose, could they reattach
I don't know.
a nerve?
Nerves are tricky,
I'm sure
man.
you would know about it. by
Nerves
now.
are really
Why would
tricky.
you want to do it at this point? I mean,
Yeah,
That'll
my
change-
back's all screwed up too, and I never got that fixed. I'm just a.
You're like a
Well,
genetic mishap,
That's crazy,
bro.
and I thought I was weird. You know, I have to build. I grow extra bones. I have an extra bone in my leg.
What?
Yeah, they took it out and it grew back.
Is this a joke?
No, facts.
I feel like there's a joke
So
coming.
you have a tibia and fibia, right?
Yeah.
Olivia?
And he's got
Yeah, there's all kinds of turmoil around there.
Yeah, it's all kind of, man. We got
Muammar Gaddafi down there going, let me out.
blood diamonds and everything. Like there's a bone that grew from one bone and attached itself to another bone.
Oh, no.
And then they took it out. So
Oh, so you're straight now.
yeah, but
No,
then
it grew
then
again.
it grew back,
It grew back?
and they just left it in.
That is
they're like,
weird.
At that point, it's like
You're like,
deforestation.
what's that animal? Like, are you like a worm? You know, like when you cut a worm's head off, it keeps going.
Well, yeah,
Is that a worm? I don't know.
Regenerates.
I don't have to. I don't.
You're
I'm not
regenerating.
regenerating them digits though. Like that's not happening. But I never.
You're like the Terminator.
I never drink milk. So
I don't drink milk either.
one day I just walked up and like I threw my bottle down, didn't want milk.
Well, that's
I won't
why-
drink milk now because I have like extra calcium.
You have calcium
And that's
surplus.
why Jay
yes.
doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't eat fish. Because
I don't eat
smell.
fish.
You don't
Smell.
eat mushroom smell. That's the worst
Oh,
smell.
mushroom smell
I
to
hate
me
that. It makes me nauseous.
so nasty.
It's the worst smell.
And that's why I don't eat eggs.
Oh.
I love mushroom.
All right, guys, we got a
mushrooms
couple
in it.
things
Go
we
ahead.
got to get to today. So
You don't want to talk about bad smells
re-hit
anymore?
this information. Yes, we are going to do good bet, bad bet real quick.
Okay.
Now, just so you guys know, because it's going to take us a day or two to build all the graphics we need to build for our new system. Friday's bets will count, but we're not counting.
So it's a
yesterday's and
useless
today's.
segment.
So
of Good
these
Bet
are
Bad.
these are just for fun.
Just for fun, just for the
Okay,
people. It is
okay.
Thursday.
As if the other
football.
ones were
It's
for
like our
anything other than
preseason.
fun.
It's our
Yeah.
preseason.
It's Thursday night football tonight, the start of NFL season.
Yeah.
Three bets related
Yeah.
to that. So let's take the first one here, Mike. Rams, they're underdogs at home against
Wow,
the
we're
Bills.
all bad bet on that.
And you guys all said bad bet. No one believes in Sean McVay, who has not lost a season opener in his career.
I know he hasn't.
It's nothing to do with Sean
And he's
McVay.
also undefeated when
I'm
he's ahead of
concerned about
halftime or
Matthew
something like that.
Stafford physically.
And there's reason to be concerned, right? We
Yeah.
found out that he had off-season elbow surgery.
Oh, yeah,
That's
right.
troublesome.
Ooh.
Yep.
I'm surprised nobody went good with that.
Yeah, I agree.
I
was
think
surprised.
Josh Allen going to throw for about 5,000 yards this year and rush
Yeah.
for like 8.
I hope so. I got him in our fantasy league.
5,000.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll throw for 6,000.
I mean, 5,800 on the ground is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
True.
Okay, so we're
Number
all in
2.
agreement on that one.
We are not all in agreement here. Bull does not
Yeah.
believe we hit the over.
Okay, and this is it. Like, this is an example of something Jay brought up earlier where
We all think one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks this game
I
is
almost
going
went
over.
bad because of that.
All right? Everybody thinks this game is going over. Even if the final score were 27-24, it'd still be under. And I have a feel, I agree the Bills' offense is going to be cooking in this game, but I really think the Rams' offense is going to struggle in this game. And I think they're going to be held to the low 20s. And so and listen, the Bills could put up 40 points, and then it's an easy over. And as my good friend Dustin Fox would say, life's too short to bet the under. So I'm not betting it in real life. But I have a hunch that the Rams are going to have trouble scoring, and the Bills will, because it's the first game, late, they'll be up, I think, a decent amount, take their foot off the gas.
I don't have any evidence to back this up, but I would venture to guess that overs hit more than unders in week 1 because teams don't show anything in the preseason. So your first real look at things defensively is in week 1.
I'd be interested, and I'm sure Vegas
Yeah, I don't
knows.
know.
I'm sure Vegas knows.
That seems to make sense. By the way, the most common total is 51.
Really?
Over, I don't think it was last year. Last year's most common total score was 51 points.
All right. And there's only 2 games in week 1 that
Yeah.
are over 51.
Yep. It is this game and then the Chargers-Raiders game.
And they're the pinball games that you would expect.
Right.
But
Chargers rate first week, they don't get no breaks. That's crazy.
no, I
That
know,
division's
man.
tough.
Listen, that
Almost
is
as tough as this third good bet, bad bet, which once again finds Bull on an island by himself.
Ooh, Bull.
95.5 receiving yards for Cooper Kupp, and Bull once again going against the grain.
Cooper Kupp obviously is a great receiver, but his numbers last year were absurd. Whenever a guy has had a year like that, we saw it with what's his name, the running back that had 2,000 yards.
That's what I said about Jonathan Taylor
Right. It's
last
like-
week, and you guys nailed me for that. Now, that's a running back to a wide receiver.
Yeah, but no. But
it's very hard to do that again.
It's hard to repeat. I didn't nail you for that. I think it's possible he won't
Well,
be.
I was saying the reason I wouldn't take Taylor first in the draft is because if you look historically as who is the
best
slam
guy
dunk
never
number
has the
one,
best. Yeah,
never. It's
it's
never
usually
pans
a new
out.
best guy,
It's usually
and
a
that's
new best
it.
guy.
I think Jamar Chase and Jefferson will both have better years than Cooper Kupp this year.
Well, I think that's very possible, but
Yeah.
he can still have 100
he's still
yards.
going to be
for that.
great.
95 is not a very high
He's
bar.
still going to be great.
In a game where you know they're going to throw the football, there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of points scored. He may have that by halftime.
Van
here's-
Jefferson is not playing in this game. He's
Yeah, but
out
here's
for the
the
game.
thing.
New
I think-
receiver
Yep.
on the opposite, Noah Beckham. He's going to get this
Yeah,
ball.
but the new receiver is Allen Robinson. He's
Yeah.
a veteran, and I think they want to get him established. And it goes to my point again of I think the Rams' offense is going to struggle, and I think defenses this year are going in with the game plan that we got to slow down Cooper Kupp.
To your point earlier, you're not sure, but it seems the anecdotal evidence is that teams on offense do better in week 1. I could be wrong on this. It's just in my mind, it seems like the team that wins the Super Bowl almost always struggles in the week 1 to start the next season. I don't know, are they going to
think
do
I
a
saw a stat
ceremony
on that
before the
earlier
game?
today.
Sometimes, I know in the NBA, sometimes I know that's true.
They get the rings.
They get their rings,
That
they
night,
raise the
yeah,
banner, their
yeah.
minds are anywhere but the game, and then
Right.
tip-off happens, and they're like, oh, we got to play a meaningless regular season game
Right.
after what we just went through. So I don't know. Anecdotally, it seems like, I'm not saying they lose the majority of time, because I do think they win, but I think everybody scratches their head and say, whoa, is New England still New England?
Right.
So I don't know.
I agree with that. The only team I've ever seen have no problems is the Chicago Bulls. They go get their rings and destroy people.
and then tell everybody we're about to get
We're
another
about to
one.
win another one.
That's
Good luck,
so
buddy.
true. That's very true.
By the way, that is not the defending Super Bowl champ 38-16-1.
No, I said I
Struggle.
I would say that they overwhelmingly win the games.
Oh.
But I don't think they
don't
win
play.
them as dominantly as people
that I
think
don't
they
know.
will.
That I don't know.
You know, I just have in recent memory, I remember Super Bowl defending champs coming out the next year, and I'm like, wow. Have they lost their fastball?
They pull it out. Just pull it out.
Yeah, they struggle, but they win.
Cowboys Buccaneers a couple years ago, right?
Yes.
Opening game.
Oh,
That was a great game.
That was one of the best
was
games.
last year.
That was last year.
that was last
That was
year.
one of the best games of the year.
That was awesome.
Now the Buccaneers pulled it out,
Right.
But
but
they
by
were
the skin of their
struggling.
teeth. All right.
I have one tweet to read you guys real quick.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk Guardians. So let's not get on a conversation here because we got to get the Guardians.
All right.
But
Was.
this from Zach Jackson. He tweeted 2 minutes ago. Kevin Stefanski says the Browns gave Cade York 10 days off from the last preseason game till yesterday to keep his legs fresh. He was 16 of 18 on Wednesday, hit a 58-yarder, and, quote, smoked it.
That's what I want to hear
There you
right
go,
there.
Jay.
That's what I want to hear.
Let's
Bull
talk
hates
about-
it because
Cade York sighting.
Listen, let me make it clear.
I said no.
Mikey, it's your fault. Give me 30 seconds. 30 seconds, I promise.
there's certain things Bull can't hold his tongue
All
on.
right, let me make it very
Cade
clear.
York being good is
that
one of them.
no,
He can't.
you're wrong. Let me make it very clear that I do believe Cade York is going to be very good, and I'm fine with them drafting him at this point. But stop telling me about his practice kicks. I don't give a. I want to say shit.
What if I said?
I
What if I
don't
told you he
care
was
about
2 of
his
18 in practice?
I don't. That would mean something.
Oh,
If you're terrible, we've said that before. If you're terrible, fine.
Look,
I
it
don't
is-
care about his practice kicks.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
I know you don't. We care about what he does in the game. All
Yes.
right.
Speaking of what
The
we do
Guardians
in the game,
last night.
Yeah, Class A.
So a couple of things. Classe came in, looked horrible in the ninth. They blew the
Karinchak
save.
looked horrible too.
After Karinchak did, I'll tell you this: the entire bullpen, and even the starter, who went 4 innings without his ridiculous pitch count, everybody looked good. And for some reason, I think the reason is the Royals hit him earlier in this series. He got out of it, but it was shaky, and they hit him, and they hit him hard. And my fear is, because I've been waiting for this to happen with him, because he's been Jose Mesa-like in 97.
Yeah.
My fear all year has been he can't carry this for 162 games in the postseason. Nobody
Everybody
ever does,
has a
unless
slump.
you're Mariano Rivera.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm nervous. And I know that you guys are going to look at me like, of course you're going to say that now because he lost the game.
Yeah.
When he threw 10 of his first 11 pitches were balls, I'm sorry. I don't know who you're going to go to, but it's not. I got to
No,
get him
I
out
can't
of there.
take him out.
I know you don't.
I
I know
can't
you
take him out.
can't.
Yeah.
And it's not hindsight.
Yeah.
After the second walk to start the inning, I was saying the same thing I was saying when Hentges did it the other night.
Yeah.
Get him out of there.
Yeah, but
he's
this guy-
struggling to find it. Get him out.
It was amazing. I understand what you're saying, and with other pitchers, I would have done it. Not with this guy who's been lights out. Obviously, it didn't work out. He had 7 walks going into the game, walked
And
3
that's
guys
why I
last
would have
night.
done it.
He
doesn't
really
walk guys.
It was really weird that he had no command. And Karinchak walked 3 last night
I know
too.
he did.
So
every one of the innings from 6, 7, 8, and 9, the Royals left 2 guys on base
I
in
know.
all of those innings.
The Royals are terrible. I mean, they got a terrible
are.
lineup besides Salvador
but they're
Perez.
big leaguers too.
And Bobby Witt.
To your point,
I love
I
Bobby.
feel like Boone has pulled Chapman when he just can't.
Yeah, but
find
Chapman's
strikes.
having a terrible year.
No, but
No,
before
I know.
this year, throughout his career. But I also think Classe is a young guy, and you got to give him a chance to figure it out.
He's
and
not
fight
as
through
young.
that.
Like I wouldn't have wanted to do it 2 years ago, but he is so established as the best closer in the game right
is.
now.
I don't think you
You're
take
not
out a
gonna dink
closer.
you're not going to dink his confidence. To me, his body language and his face said this to me: "Get me the hell out of here! I can't find it. I can't find it."
Well,
and there's nothing worse as a pitcher.
I think
than
you give him a chance.
Not trusting your location.
Yeah.
And he didn't trust it
yeah,
last night.
and I don't think you're hurting his confidence. I
No,
think
you're just trying to win this
he
game.
hasn't been in this position very often, very many times where he can't command and
Yep.
he can't. So let him figure it out.
So you would have taken him out?
No.
No,
I
I
would-
would
I would
absolutely
let him
not.
fight through it.
I
I
let
would've
him
got him out
figure
of
it out because
And Terry's never going to take him out by the way.
I need him in the big spots down the stretch. If he can't get it done, we're not going to the playoffs anyway.
Look, to your point, there are nights that you just don't have it.
Right.
And when Hentges came in the other night and threw 4 out of the first 5 for balls, I felt he doesn't have it. Now, I know sometimes you got to give a guy 10, 15 pitches. I have never, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure I've watched it before. I can't remember a time when I watched 10 out of 11 pitches from a guy who's known for his command be balls, and not just borderline balls. Now, there was a call there that he didn't get. The 12th pitch was at the top of the zone. He didn't get it.
Yeah, well, when
But
you're throwing 10 of 11 balls,
you're not going to get it.
that ball.
You're not going to get it, regardless of your
Yeah.
reputation. But it was obvious right away that he was struggling and it wasn't going to end well.
So all you need is like one double play ball.
Right.
And I kept
that
saying
can get him back
if he
on
gets a
track.
ground ball, he's
Yeah.
out of the inning. But when it was second and after the base hit to tie it, I knew God, right hand to God, I just finished my workout. I told my wife, I'm not going to watch. I'm going to take a shower.
Yeah. What's funny
because I knew how it was going to end.
It's better now that he do it now than in the playoffs. It's kind of like when LeBron used to miss them free throws, and you'd be like, man, LeBron shoots 60%. But when the playoffs come, you say, well,
we don't know what this guy's going to be.
They haven't made the playoffs yet.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to be in the postseason.
Even Mariano Rivera would have a bad couple of days.
You're right.
I think he's fine.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm not worried about him, because again, if he falls apart in the last month, then
we're done.
They're done anyway.
Guys,
so,
we just saw the tweet from John. They scored one run. You got to score.
Yeah, you're playing the Royals.
I put it all on the offense. You're playing a horrible team.
The offense has been bad, and
you couldn't get anything going.
Twins got swept in a doubleheader. They never beat the Yankees.
No, and now the White Sox and the Twins
both
are
2
games out. 12 of the next 15.
16. 12 to 16.
I thought it was 15, but okay, I thought it was 15. Either way, they've got 12 games in the next 2 weeks against the teams that are going to decide. This is the season.
That's why I said starting next week, the 15th to the 22nd, it's all Twins and White Sox. It's like 8 in a row.
Well, I mean, they're off today, but tomorrow they start a series with.
They got
with
3
the
in
Twins,
Minnesota,
and then they come home.
Then they come home, 3 with the Angels, and then
with
5 with Minnesota in 4 days.
That's big.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the one.
First they play 1 game against the White Sox at home, then 3 with the Angels, then 5 with the Twins, and then they go to Chicago for 3.
I think we'll have a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
The cream will. And here's my fear. My fear is, and I know that you asked me yesterday, you still confident they're going to make the playoffs last week? And I rattled off a bunch of reasons why, but at the time, the White Sox were 5 games out. Mm-hmm. My fear here is all year long, everybody has told
Where
you.
are the White Sox?
The White Sox are the team.
Yeah.
The White Sox are the team. It's interesting, La Russa now is out. I'm not sure that he's beloved in that dugout.
I don't think they like him at all.
I don't think they like him.
No.
It's interesting to me that he's gone, and all of a sudden you look at the standings, and the White Sox, who were 5 out a week ago, are 2 out, and they have to be feeling pretty good about their chances.
And they have a good
now.
rotation.
They have a really good rotation.
Were you watching that game the other night? Were you guys watching when Dylan Cease had the no-hitter with 2 outs in the ninth?
I was following it on my phone.
Yeah.
I saw he lost it with 2 outs in the ninth. Is he Cy Young this year?
I think he.
No.
You don't think so?
Verlander and McClanahan.
They're both hurt.
Yeah,
they're both hurt.
I still think
Cease has had an incredible
year. If those guys miss the rest of the season, I think Cease is going to win it.
If they don't pitch again.
He's right there.
Especially if he's
right there.
If he's dynamic for them down the stretch against the Guardians
and they win the division.
He's got I think it's his to lose.
I think Verlander had it before he got hurt.
I might have a different answer.
But either way, he's in the top 3. I mean, he's right there.
Phenomenal. And all year long it's been kind of the Guardians and the Twins, but anybody who knows baseball has kept
waiting for the White Sox.
The White Sox are the team.
And finally, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, I think the White Sox are finally done.
I said that too. They were 5 out.
Right. And since then they played better.
Tony La Russa goes away, and all of a sudden, now they're 2 out with a chance to be in first place by the end of this week.
And by the way, the Indians or the Guardians changed their rotation for this week, and they moved everybody up because they have the off day.
Yeah, I saw that. Do we know why?
Well,
Jay?
because now you could have all your 3 top starters pitching against the Twins.
I guess, but
it's not short rest because they have an off day today.
Yeah, the off day today
helps. So you're going to have.
Is this their last off day? The rest of the year?
It's their last. Well, I don't know. It's the last off day in this 16-game stretch. I'm not sure about the last week. I think it might be.
They gave up the off day for the White Sox reschedule.
I think it might be.
Isn't there another rescheduled game with
Kansas City? Maybe.
I remember it being in September, and it was late in September, and I thought they're not going to have any days off to close the year.
You may be right.
They do play the Royals at home like 17 times in a row.
I don't understand. How did that happen that they're playing 6 games?
That is super bizarre. Have you ever seen that before?
No.
I've never seen it either.
Or is that a rainmaker?
No, it's scheduled. It was scheduled that way, as far as I know.
They do have an off day September 26th, by the way. They have one more off day.
Okay,
at the end of the season.
Now, are you looking at the schedule that was put out at the beginning of the year, though, or are you looking at like a schedule that would be
on
updated?
MLB.com?
I'm listening to Anthony, who says he's looking at CBS, who saes it does update.
Okay, as long as it updates. Well, that's one off day the rest of the year. And by the way, if a game gets rained out, then they would be off that day, but then that 26th date would be filled.
Right. Or a doubleheader.
I do like the closing the year with 6 against the Royals at home. I think that is
huge.
Perfect.
But they
for
played
us.
Tampa Bay right before that. Who's,
I know. Tampa Bay's struggling.
Tampa Bay's only 5 behind the Yankees, though.
I know.
Which is
which the Yankees had a huge lead.
They were
they're
up by
talking about-
13 or 14
They're
games.
talking about firing Cashman now. Ken Rosenthal just wrote for us that they
Really?
may have to look at.
He's been there 20-something years.
I know.
The Yankees have been abysmal, and I cannot say
You know what,
abysmal
though?
with
Like,
enough emphasis.
They've been dinged, too. They've had a lot of injuries.
They just
and,
Yeah, but not as many as like the Twins and White Sox
and
have
you
had
know
a
what?
lot more.
I don't really think it matters much.
All you got to do is get in the playoffs.
Get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is Judge going to hit more than 61?
What are you, 50?
He's at 55.
I think he's going to get there.
Why would anybody pitch to him right now? Nobody else on
I
that
know.
team can hit.
And they are pitching to him.
Their lineup's a disaster besides him right
It's
now.
kind of
Before we do final takes,
Yeah.
a Judge stat that was kind of cool. He's the first Yankee since Babe Ruth to score 100% of his team's runs in a 2-game stretch against the.
By the way, as much as I love, as much
He
as
had
I
3
love
solo home runs, the
Ohtani,
only 3 runs they scored.
as much as I love Ohtani, and I know he's pitching too, I'm still voting for Aaron Judge for MVP.
That's going to be a really interesting race.
By the way,
who
for
do you
the
have, Jason?
Jeff Passan swung me to Ohtani with this tweet
Yeah.
of showing like
I
Mookie
saw
Betts
that.
stat line,
Yep.
Aaron Judge stat line. I think it was McClanahan's stat line
Yep.
and Ohtani's stat
But
line.
here's the
and
thing,
when you
though,
look at
It's
it,
unbelievable.
Then
it's
we
unbelievable
might as
because you're
well-
getting that out of one guy.
I know.
That we might as well just give him the award every year.
Yeah.
Well,
There
listen,
it is.
that was my argument with LeBron.
Listen,
He had
there it
years
is.
in there he
If he
should have won it.
plays
Yep,
at
there
the
it is.
level that he's playing right now, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's the only guy that can do it.
I always thought the MVP should be a hitter and the Cy Young should be the pitcher. That's how I thought, but whatever. I mean, it's an unusual circumstance. I just think as much as usually I don't factor in the record, but the Angels suck. He's playing under no pressure at all. Aaron Judge has to carry the most scrutinized team in all of baseball.
There's a producer upstairs at Channel 3 that has one of 5 rookie cards, Ohtani's rookie cards, with a signature on it. So it was put out by Topps, and they were labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has number 1.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, you're sitting on a lottery ticket there.
Yeah.
Because if he has longevity and he can continue to play at this level, he's changing the game. There's nobody else that can do what he's doing, and there are other guys that can hit not maybe as many home runs as Judge. We have a lot of home run hitters. We've got a lot of dominant pitchers, but nobody's doing the same thing.
Both.
I don't think. By the way, does anybody else even have 40 home runs in baseball? I don't think so.
I don't know that
nobody
they
in the
do.
National
And
League does.
bad job of the people not pitching to Aaron Judge. Come on, man. If baseball wants to be
They are
known-
pitching
No,
to
they
him,
are
though.
pitching.
I'm just saying, why
Aaron
would
Judge has 19 more home runs than anyone else in Major
That's
League.
It's
amazing.
stunning.
That's crazy.
I don't know why you would pitch around him. Like, come on, bro. This is for a record. Like, I feel like you should be mandated by rules.
Yeah,
If
but
the
we get
Guardians
mad
are
at-
playing him, and it's 2-1 in the 7th inning,
No.
and the bases are empty, and there's 2 outs. He's not seeing a pitch. I'm just pointing to first base.
I think it's lame to purposely pitch around him just to not give up the home run. But I don't have a problem with pitching him around them because it's a smart baseball move.
No, that's when you do
Yeah.
it. That's when you pitch around.
I
him.
mean, that's we don't
And, you know,
want
look-
you don't want to hand guys records. They got to earn it.
I mean, Bonds was getting walked 3-4 times intentionally too.
Right. Everybody was scared of Bonds. They were
That was
walking.
crazy.
Bonds got walked with the bases loaded.
yeah, I know. he did.
multiple times.
I
Yeah.
will never
And-
see that
and
ever
you know
again.
what?
Yep.
We'll never see that again.
And it worked. Like,
right, because you were like, I'd rather give up 1 run than 4.
And I think Madden did it once, and I think there was one other manager that
Oh, it
did
hap- yeah, it
But
happened a couple of times.
In the situations that I was watching,
Yeah.
it was this. It not only was the smart move at the time,
Yeah.
but it panned out.
I mean, you never know what he would have done. He
Yeah,
might have hit into a double play.
You don't, but,
possibly,
we do have the benefit of the results of what the guys behind
That's
him
true.
ended up doing.
How many home runs would he have had if he just got walked half
90.
as less?
Oh my God.
90. If you take his at-bats, his home runs per at-bat, he had over 200 walks.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you take his home runs per at-bat that he averaged in, and by the way, he was walked 200 times. He set the record for the most intentional walks. But if you go back and you look at the reel of his home runs, a lot of them were horrible pitches.
Right.
He wasn't getting,
Yeah.
he got no
And he
tube
didn't have a great
shots.
lineup around him. I mean, Jeff Kent was behind him, who was a
He
really
had some
good hitter.
protection for a period of that time,
Yeah.
but
That's
he was hitting
crazy.
pitches that were below his knees.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He was hitting pitches that were inside, like he loves the inside pitch, but there were a lot of times he was hitting
turning-
pitches that were off the plate and he was
Yeah.
hitting them out.
His bat speed was ridiculous. I was like, how are you getting to that?
I know.
Mm.
And a lot
here's-
of guys just dismiss it for the PEDs. There were a
Yeah.
lot of guys using PEDs
Right,
in that
they
era.
weren't hitting as many
and
home
they weren't
runs as
hitting
him.
73
That's
home
right.
runs either.
Here is the wrap up on this conversation before final takes, but this, I think, puts what Ohtani's doing into context with the Angels. This is a tweet that went viral a couple of days ago. Every time I see an Angels highlight, it's like Mike Trout hits 3 home runs, raises his average to 528, while Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle of the 1921 Akron Groomsmen.
I get it. I love
The
Shohei.
Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3.
Good old
That's old.
I
That's
understand,
been
but
around for a while.
Shohei
That's
Ohtani's
hilarious.
playing under no pressure. I love the guy. I want him on my team anytime. He's playing with no pressure. His team stinks.
I don't care. He's doing things that have never been done.
Yeah,
in the
that's
history.
why I do it.
But-
So a
but
lot of
nobody's
guys
rude.
won't vote for an MVP if their team's not in the playoffs, which I thought. I would think, wasn't there a
I
year
generally
where
don't believe in that philosophy.
wasn't there a year where Durham with the Cubs, they were
Andre Dawson.
Andre Dawson.
Yeah.
And
His numbers were just so much better than
I
everybody
know, but
else.
this is that case. It's an outlier. It has
But
to be
Aaron
an
Judge
outlier.
is better than Ohtani
So if
offensively.
Ohtani
Okay,
didn't
but
win it last year, would
Ohtani's
you vote
better
for
as a
him this
pitcher.
year?
I know that, but
No, if he didn't win it last year, would you vote for him this year? Ohtani.
Yes.
No, I would not vote for him this year. But I understand why people do. It's
Wait,
almost
because he won it last year?
No, I just think Judge is having such a magnificent season
Right.
that I'm choosing unfairly maybe to disregard the pitching staff.
Yes, it's
Hey,
unfair.
Jason
That is
has-
unfair.
Jason has a final take we made graphics for today, so we got
Okay, let's go.
All right, let's do it.
As interesting as it is.
Let's
So,
do it.
Bull,
Skip
start
me,
us off.
skip me. Just go right to Jason.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jason, it's on you then.
Well, since I couldn't figure out my internet last week when the Cavs traded for Donovan Mitchell, and I
Yeah,
tried doing it for my
yeah.
car and froze, tried doing it for my house and froze. And
I enjoyed that text chain, by the
Yes.
way.
it was so embarrassing.
I could feel your pain.
So there's one thing I wanted to touch on. Obviously, this is my first time in since the Cavs traded for Donovan Mitchell. And there's only one piece to this that I want to illustrate because it's an interesting little situation the Cavs are going to run into in a couple years. In the NBA, they have a thing called the designated rookie extension. And basically, it allows teams one extra year to extend guys coming off their rookie deals. So you can get 5 years instead of 4. But only 2 guys are allowed to have this on the roster. They just gave one to Darius Garland, and they just traded for one in Donovan Mitchell. So what does that mean for Evan Mobley? Because at the rate he's going, at the pace he's progressing, it sure looks like Mobley's going to earn one of these types of contracts, and it's in the Cavs' best interest to sign him to a 5-year extension rather than a 4-year extension. Obviously, you get an extra year of control over this guy. So the first time that Evan Mobley becomes eligible for one of these contract extensions is the summer of 2024 after his 3rd year, just like with Darius this year. And there you see I put the hash line in. This is courtesy of SpotRack.com. But Donovan Mitchell still has 1 more year on his contract for the 24-25 season, so what do? The Cavs have a couple of options here. Number one, they could just offer Evan a 4-year deal, not the 5-year. They could offer him a 4-year deal in that summer of 2024. Obviously not ideal. You want to get him that 5th year. You could wait and kick the can down the road to his restricted year. There you see where Donovan Mitchell has a player option in 25-26. Let's play best case scenario here. Donovan Mitchell loves his time in Cleveland. He stays the 3 years, and he wants to stay longer. They tear up the current deal. They give him a new deal beginning in 25-26, and then Mobley, that opens a slot for that designated rookie extension. And as he enters restricted free agency, Evan can get that 5-year deal. He can go ahead and get that extra year. The problem with that is you're asking possibly your best player on the team 1 more year to wait for a mega deal. Now, he has no say in the matter. He's under team control, but it's not great for relations. The best outcome in all of this might be changing the CBA, which is not as outrageous as it sounds. The new CBA's coming, or the CBA expires in 2024, and there's already talk of abolishing this rule. A lot of teams don't like the rule because it hinders, they don't like the player empowerment, the player movement, all these guys moving around. And this is just another way to allow teams to hold on to their guys longer. So by doing it this way, by just waiting for the new CBA to come open and negotiations to begin, they very well may just abolish this rule, and it's something the Cavs don't even have to worry about. But it's just something I wanted to point out, something to highlight and illustrate. It's come up a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's not a reason not to make the Donovan Mitchell
You love
trade
the
in
deal,
first
right?
place. I love the deal. I think it's a great deal. I think that 2029 pick, no one cares about it now. That could be a top 5
Yeah, they could
pick.
be crappy by then.
Yeah, they could be really bad by then. But you can't worry about that right now. You're going for it now. I think it's a great deal for the Cavs in the moment. But just keep an eye on this designated rookie extension rule as it comes forward, and just something to keep an eye on as negotiations unfold over the next few years.
Real quick question. Can they rip up Donovan Mitchell's contract before that player option to get him off
I asked that and didn't really get a clear answer on it. I don't know. I don't know. Typically in the NBA, you go to the end of the deal,
right?
And then he would opt out. Now, another that no one wants to talk about this He could come to them after 2 years and say, listen, I got a year left. I'm not coming back.
Right.
Do with me what you will. I'm not coming back. And then the Cavs have a decision to make. Do you ride it out and let him leave as a free agent, decline the player option and leave? Or do you try and trade him and recoup some of those assets?
It depends where they are as a team.
It depends where they are as a team. That obviously probably is a worst case scenario. Fans don't want to think about that, but it's a viable option that he comes to them in 2 years and says, that next year is going to be my last year, and now they have a decision to make.
We keep talking about, where they are now, and they need a small forward, and they need another 3-and-D guy. Is that something that's not going to happen right now, or they're going to try to find that between what they got and just?
No, it's not going to happen. This is who they have for the most part.
Yeah,
I think Isaac Okoro is going to be the starting small forward. According to the numbers I crunched, their average starting age in the starting lineup next year is going to be 23.3 years old, which is staggeringly young for how good they could be.
For a contender.
For a contender.
What, do you have something in mind where you'd like to see them? Are they an Eastern Conference semifinal team, or this is a disappointment, or
East
too
is
early
so
to
tough.
label it?
Yeah, I think the East is just absolute meat grinder right now, and I'm still a big. You have teams. Chicago, after LeBron left, Chicago went from the 8 seed to the 1 seed, but for the most part, you need to get there first and just figure it out, and that's why last year was so kind of not devastating but disappointing.
That they didn't get that playoff series.
Yeah. Because what they got, the play-in is nothing like the actual playoffs. So I get to the playoffs and see what happens this year, and then next year. I think next year the expectations really mount.
Yeah, it's so hard in the NBA to go from not making the playoffs to a deep playoff run. It's so progressive. You got to take those steps.
Yeah.
It's just part. Look at Jordan and the steps that he had to take before he
Even
finally
Golden
got over
State,
the hump.
even Golden State
too.
got there.
You're right.
And
yeah.
then exploded.
And LeBron went through it too.
Too.
It takes time. The good news for Cavs fans is the pieces are here. Now you feel like, okay, here it is. You got to put it in the oven, let them bake, let them become what they're going to become. But I want to know if you think this statement is hyperbole, because I said it on our Channel 3 show, and I did hear from some people that were like, well, no, I don't agree with that. For me, this is the most excitement I've had about a non-LeBron Cavs team since the early 90s. Is that hyperbole?
No, I think that what other team
I've
could
never
there
been
be?
excited about a Cavs team.
I haven't
the
either.
90s.
I haven't either.
I mean, I love
They've
some of
been
those
terrible.
90s teams, but
Yeah, the 90s teams were fun, but I feel like for the first
But
time.
you said since the 90s teams.
Yeah, I haven't been as excited about a Cavs team.
Right. Since
that
Doherty,
didn't have
Price,
LeBron James.
since
Since
those
Doherty,
teams.
Price, Hot
Right.
Rod.
Right, yeah.
And
Agreed.
it kind of, if you take the LeBron era out of the Cavs history, it's one of the most abysmal franchises that's not named the Clippers ever.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that was by design, especially the first time he left. They didn't want to be any good. They wanted to be bad. They wanted to stockpile picks. But they haven't won a playoff series without LeBron since '93.
There you go.
Something like
I
that.
think how many
that's
playoff
right.
series wins do they have, period, without LeBron? Not many.
No, because the Miracle at Richfield was a first-round series.
Yeah.
It was best of 5, I think. And I think that was it until those 90s teams.
Had they ever been to the Eastern Conference Finals?
No, not
Without
without LeBron.
Not without.
I thought they did in the '90s. Would they get bounced in the second round by Chicago?
No, I think they always lost in the semis to the Bulls.
To the
Yeah.
Bulls.
So I mean, man, it's been slim pickings.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to label this team as a team that should make a finals, an Eastern Conference Finals. But I would think that in time, particularly if they can figure out the Rubik's Cube, the math Rubik's Cube, I would think that this core group can get them there.
Yeah.
Well, they've got
It gives them a chance.
They've got 3 years for sure with Donovan Mitchell if they
Right.
want to. If in like we said, depending on what he says in year 3 of I'm leaving, do what you want with me, but I'm not coming back, or maybe he says I love it here and I'm willing to stay. We'll wait and see. But he's got time here. But that's what I wrote last week is they have all the pieces to win a championship without the overwhelming pressure to do it right now. When LeBron was here, it was you got to do it right now, this year.
The window, we know that the window has a couple of years on it.
And a team like Brooklyn is a veteran team. That thing could implode at any minute.
Yes,
Milwaukee,
and that's not long term either.
No, and Milwaukee has contract decisions they have to make coming up. Al Horford has a year left on his deal in Boston. So these really, really good teams in the East right now, not necessarily going to be really, really good 2 or 3 years from now. The Cavs have a little bit of time.
Yeah, and to your point about missing the playoffs a year ago, that cannot be overstated because
It's huge.
Getting the experience in whether it's the NFL or baseball or the NBA, as much as they think that the competition is as high as it can go, everybody after they go through that first playoff series or game, they always say the same thing. Wow.
Not to mention,
it was ratcheted up.
Not to mention, JB Bickerstaff needs the experience.
Sure.
Being a head
They
coach.
shouldn't even be in the. They shouldn't be. They got to avoid the play-in round this year.
Well, at least they got Kevin Love and Donovan Mitchell played in the playoffs, so at least they have
That's
some
true. They have
veterans
some
with
playoff
leadership.
experience.
Yeah.
By the way, I think Love's role on this team moving forward. I mean, for 1 year, I think it's very important that they have a guy like him around.
And Ricky Rubio's playing.
Yes.
the
Rubio
playoffs.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wouldn't expect much out of Rubio this year.
You wouldn't?
ACL.
He's
Well,
not going to be
January,
back. Yeah,
February,
he'll be back
maybe?
in January.
Yeah.
First year back from ACL.
Yeah.
So
Tough.
I think next year. And again, I don't want to keep you have every reason to be excited about this Cavs team this year. But I think
They're
next
still a year off.
I think next year is really going to be ramped up expectations.
All right, I'm thrilled. I can't wait. All right, we're taking a 22-hour break. We're back tomorrow. Tomorrow is our final show of the preview of the Panthers and the Browns. I'll take a quick second to remind everybody that if you haven't heard about this yet, when the game Sunday goes into the 2-minute warning, go to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube page. We will have a post-game show that begins at the 2-minute warning. So as Baker Mayfield throws that pick on the last play of the game that gives the Browns the win, you will have the lucky ticket to watch Bull dance like he's never danced before.
Hopefully with pants on this time.
Yes.
Yes, please wear bottoms.
50-50 shot.
Anyhow, tell your friends about that show too, because by week 10, everybody is going to be watching this post-game show because it's the final 2 minutes of the game.
We'll watch it with you.
And then into the post-game.
Yes.
We'll see you on Friday, tomorrow, 22-hour break. The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is back to preview the Browns and the Panthers one last time.